Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the mayor of the Deepstone Crypt, the cape-wearing, gun-slinging, dead man tales shooting Josh Finney.
Hey, I like that. That's the best intro yet.
Yeah,
the cape-wearing, gun-slinging, dead man's tail toting. I like that.
It's a good thing he actually got dead man's tail, or else that would have been really embarrassing if he hadn't.
I've gotten multiple rolls of it. Thank you very much.
To be fair, I did it before Josh did. I want that written down somewhere.
He did. It is forever in the record that Corey did it before I did. And I'd like to note that it was on a technicality because of life-threatening weather in Texas.
Excuses.
Was it?
Excuses. You were clearly
Had
not
I
a T1
realized
alpha
that
veteran.
I was on an essential grid sooner, I would have probably done it.
Sounds like you're just jealous.
We found that out this week. I'm on an essential power grid.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
You're
essential.
essential.
I am. It's purely because I live here. They're just like, oh shit, this guy's got to get on and bitch about Destiny every week.
Now,
and his power stays on.
True.
Now, Josh, what does that say about your internet though? Because your internet is clearly not essential.
My internet clearly is not essential. That's the monkey's paw, right? Like it curled. Okay, you can have heat and water, but fuck your internet. That's what AT&T just said to me.
They did. They said they just
If
shoved
my
that fist right
Roomba
up there.
disconnects.
They said, "Spit is the devil's lube," and they stuck that fist right up there.
Wow.
Wow.
Joining us tonight is Nerd Generalist back from the Tower Casuals LFG.
Whoa.
And he's not talking about looping in places that loop shouldn't go.
You can't segue into my introduction after that.
And
that is not fair.
You can't intro him. I'm the host. Joining us this evening is Nerd Generalist himself, the Warlock Man.
It's me.
Hi, Nerd.
Hi.
I'm glad you're back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, guys.
I missed you. I missed your beard. I missed your coffee mug. I don't. We could be friends again since football season's over. Yeah.
I'm about not to be friends with people in the football offseason if one more goddamn person sends me Russell Wilson trade rumors.
Trade Russell Wilson. I don't understand what's happening in Seattle.
Corey can't even talk. He can't even talk. He's still drunk from the Browns win.
I am. Dude, we won a playoff game for the first time in like 30-something years. So
your life.
Yeah. No, we won in 94. I'm older than that. Okay.
Well, basically the first time in my memory.
I was 8, okay? I was 8.
If it was 94, I was maybe 2.
Well,
maybe. I was still shitting my pants, I'll put it that way.
I mean, that could have been yesterday, dude.
It was not yesterday. Can confirm it was not yesterday.
Okay, right? Last week when your power was out, I don't know.
Essential grid, Corey. My internet went down, not my power. Would have been a great time for xCloud to work on iOS, I'll tell you that.
I mean, one might say that in today's world, the internet might be more important than power for a lot of people.
It's true. But if you can't have the internet without power, though.
Okay, Boomer. We have devices that have batteries in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I just went mobile.
Whoa! What's all this hate on my age here? This is not fun. How old are you, Nerd?
32.
Okay. I'm like a year and a half older than you. Okay, slow down.
God, your ass is old.
I know. I'm 34. It's fine. I'm old. I get it. Okay.
Or you're not truly old until you start looking like you belong in the Wet Bandits and Home Alone, so you're okay.
It's true. I don't have enough hair for that, but thank you.
Neither did Joe Pesci, though.
Yeah, Joe Pesci's bald as fuck.
I guess that's fair.
He's got a chrome dome going on.
That's fair.
You got those gold caps, though?
No. I still have all my teeth. Except for my wisdoms. I was too dumb to have those. So, guys, now that we're done kind of BSing at the top of this show, we have a lot to talk about. There is so much to talk about. Some delays, some roadmap updates. Bungie secretly sliding in a 4th announced expansion that is untitled. There's a lot to talk about. Where do we start? Josh, where do we start?
I mean, I think that the easiest place to start is just at the top of it. We talk about the delay of the Witch Queen. This is, of course, the headline of it all. Definitely woke up to this morning with a million different people texting and messaging me going, "Oh my God, have you seen this yet?" Like, it clearly broke 15 minutes ago. Let me wake up and read it.
This came out at hold on. This came out at 1 p.m. Are you saying you woke up at 1 p.m.?
Came out at noon. So what's been happening is I've been taking my girlfriend to and from work. She gets off at 8 a.m. and I just genuinely don't sleep well at night anymore, especially knowing to have to wake up to an alarm for something I cannot miss. So I sleep for a little bit. I go pick her up, then I come back and go back to sleep for a little bit.
That answer was a lot less funny than I thought it would be. Proceed.
That's right.
It was a really informative, too. Really unnecessarily informative.
I was making sure that I could not be made fun of by Nerd. And it is all the truth.
He's still going to he's going to find a way, Josh.
I know. Anyways, so they they say as they began production on the Witch Queen last year, they made the decision quite a while ago to push to 2022, apparently. And that they realized they needed to add another unannounced chapter after Lightfall to fully complete the first saga of Destiny. We've long thought about moving Destiny's annual release to the early half of the year, primarily for the health of the team, but the Witch Queen and not being tied to legacy expectations allowed us to make this choice early for three important reasons. These are some pretty big bullet points, so I'm going to throw these out so we can start discussing them, and then I gotta run take a phone call real fast. The Witch Queen represents an important evolution in the ongoing story of Destiny. Beyond Light built the foundation and allowed us to weave the world building of Destiny and Destiny 2 together, but this will light the fire on a strongly interconnected narrative across Lightfall and beyond, unlike anything we've attempted before, with characters, arcs, heroes, and villains that persist over multiple future releases. Even more importantly, the conclusion of these releases will also conclude the Light and Darkness saga, the conflict first introduced with the launch of Destiny. And as we've been developing the Witch Queen, we realized we needed this release to be the first of many moments crucial to the story of Destiny. With so much leading to and dependent on what happens in Witch Queen, we wanted to make sure that we gave ourselves enough time to build out this journey in the right way, starting with an exceptional first chapter. And they go on basically to say ultimate vision for Destiny 2 still stands. Definitive action MMO, global community where you can play it anywhere with your friends. For 2021, that means upgrading our approach to keeping Destiny's weapon and armor game fresh, refining our vision for PvP, implementing transmog and crossplay, etc. And then they want to be uncompromising when it comes to the commitment of the health of the team, especially in the light of COVID-19. So I like this. I personally like this a lot. I think this is needed and important. Corey, I know you and I have wondered aloud if they were going to have to delay this somehow, because even if they put it out in November, they were still going up against Halo. And those audiences are basically one and the same. Not to mention there's the high likelihood that Starfield makes it out the gate this year. I just don't, part of this I think is they don't want to be cannibalized, but also this is the first major release that's largely been developed from home. Beyond Light was pretty deep in the production when they switched to home, judging by what we know about how they build seasons and build expansions, right? They're usually about 6 months in advance. This would have been started and will likely be mostly finished at home. They might be back in the office for polishing phases. But guys, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you guys while I bow out for just a second.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was like, when I first saw this, I was kind of bummed. Like, I was like, man, another delay for a major expansion. That kind of sucks. But like, after reading the TWAB and like the update to this and saying, look, we're delaying this because it's one of the most important story arcs we've ever told in Destiny. We're adding another expansion to end the Light and Dark saga, like just continuing this and kind of spelling out why they did it. It totally makes sense. I wonder how they're going to do seasons, honestly. Like, are they going to do what they did with Arrivals with the last season and just extend it a couple weeks, or are they going to kind of adjust the rest of the seasons to this?
Well, so for me, like like I obviously bummed about it, but I'm really glad that we're sort of just getting this out of the way and postponing it now, because it gives a lot of time for them to plan their content releases for the rest of the year. Obviously, when when Beyond Light was pushed back, when it was delayed, we found out pretty late in the game. I mean, it was during Season of Arrivals, and they were like, hey, by the way, now Season of Arrivals is going to be 2 months longer than it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really have anything extra planned in that time. So now this gives them time, like you said, to kind of either space out the seasons so that everything's kind of balanced. Maybe we'll add some new stuff in there to just to kind of tide people over.
Mm-hmm.
Them delaying this now gives them time to adjust. And also, I mean, I know it says early 2022. Maybe we can assume it's like January. I mean, the release in November actually went really well for Beyond Light. Like that was actually like a really good time.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that was like, hey, we need to kind of, Avengers was kind of coming out and Call of Duty and stuff. Like, I wonder if they were trying to somehow, like with Beyond Light, avoid those while kind of filling that space that Halo was filling, just because I know Call of Duty was pretty popular this year, and people were looking forward to the Avengers somewhat, and I think that delay, putting it in November, it was kind of like the last game on everybody's list to play, right? And they're like, oh man, Destiny's actually really good, and like this is the longest stretch of Destiny where I haven't really quit playing in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Between last season and this season is like, man, I'm invested.
One of the things that I really like that they do, like right here in the first like paragraph that we talked about, is they keep flexing this concept of like, we're no longer tied down to, I mean, quote, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but like they say legacy expectations. I would assume that means like Activision's old schedule for us. Like, we don't need to just do things this way anymore. Like, we have a lot more flexibility, and they keep flexing that. And I think it's very important. I mean, they now have creative control over the rest of the game, and they're saying like, look, we had this in mind originally. We had, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and Lightfall. We realized that doesn't work for us. That's not enough. So now we're going to rearrange everything, space things out, and we're going to do this the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and in a lot of ways, they're doing what, honestly, not to draw comparisons here, but what Lucasfilm should have done when they were making The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
We have too much to cram into one movie. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Rather than sacrifice the plot, we're going to pay everybody to come back. We got to do one more. We got to finish it out with an episode 10. And this feels like a really cautious move in light of Anthem, Avengers, Cyberpunk, like so many cautionary tales of the last couple of years that are just, they were overly ambitious, or they weren't ambitious enough in some regards, Avengers. And I think they've shown a cycle of, okay, we put this out because this is the next chapter. It's not implemented well. And then they spend most of the year fixing it, right? And they're like, oh my God, it's in such a good place now. And then the next annual release undoes it. I think they're trying to break that cycle now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of weird that like this is the first time we kind of like see the not the end of Destiny, but like the end, like they say it's the end of the Light and Dark saga. Like we have a glimpse, like a pinhole-sized light at the end of the tunnel, being like, this is the end. It might be the end of some of our favorite characters that we've by then will known and loved for a decade, right? I know they said Ikora is going to play a big role next expansion. Some of our heroes are going to be tested. It's going to be hard to see Destiny without Ikora or Zavala or Shaxx or Saladin or Saint 14 or you know what I mean? Like some of these characters, right? It was hard to see Destiny without Cade for a while, right? Like, I mean, it's still weird that when you go into the store, the base version of Destiny has Cade front and center on the cover art, right? And he's just not even part of the game anymore. So it's weird seeing that light at the end of the tunnel.
So one of the things I kind of like about this, though, like to contrast kind of what you're saying, is to me, see, I read this, and maybe I'm reading into it wrong. You guys can tell me if you've if you read this differently, but like this opens the door almost for more stuff beyond the Light and Darkness saga. Like we might, they're saying like this is the end of the kind of like the first saga of Destiny, and there, you know, kind of there might be more after that. And I think they're doing a really fantastic job, and there's a lot more work to be done building out this universe that maybe, I mean, maybe if they keep building, you know, it opens the door for us to be able to introduce new characters, introduce new storylines and stuff like that, so that, you know, these other characters, we can move forward with them after this sort of saga is wrapped up.
Well, that's one of the things I really like. This kind of goes hand in hand with the business announcement we got last week, right? Of the expanding of the universe into other mediums, whether that's more comics, that's some novels like Halo. You know, Corey and I are both of the opinion it's probably going to lead to an anthology-style series of some kind, whether that's movies or TV series. You know, really build upon some of this stuff that we've seen in the lore. But like you said, this is a ripe way to introduce new characters, especially the way they phrase it, introducing new heroes and villains. Like, personally, I just want to know where the fuck Fenchurch is. I would love an answer to that question. And like, in all seriousness, I would love for him to be like this ultra powerful guardian who just like deuced out years ago.
He's been missing for so long, but the deliveries just keep coming in.
Dude, my favorite fan theory when we saw that ship for like a week and a half, the prevailing fan theory was, what if that's Fenchurch's ship?
Oh man, well he's lucky he wasn't on that ship.
I would have loved that. But anyways, are we ready to move on from the delay and from the state of where the franchise is right now? Anybody got any other thoughts?
Yeah, one quick thing.
Go ahead.
Since we were talking about timing,
yeah,
I find it very interesting that this came out the day that the new Destiny Killer demo came out, and we're talking about Outriders. Do we think that was the coincidence, or do we think that it was timed like this?
Oh, it was absolutely planned.
That was my theory.
It also came out the same day that we got the next update for Halo Infinite, which I think was less easy to predict, but they tend to release that on Thursdays as well. Towards the end of the month, their Infinite updates. This is about them, you know, they're trying to stay competitive. They want to be at the forefront. They are still like as good as the Division 2 eventually got. Destiny is really the only one that has continued to, like, even though they've had their valleys of ups and downs, they're the only ones that consistently nail it in terms of the live service game on consoles.
Yeah, I think Destiny and World of Warcraft are the two longest kind of standing, most popular MMOs out there at this point that really have kept going after all these years and stayed strong.
Yeah, and I mean, it truly is a unique game amongst first-person shooters, too, you know, with the abilities, the movement. That's something Dado was talking about earlier today in his breakdown of this, was that there's never been as much emphasis on movement in the Crucible as there is now. Right? Like, the game is more fast-paced than ever, and a lot of us who come for the gunplay don't like the focus on abilities nearly as much, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. They definitely address that in this post.
I was going to say, I'm here for the ice play.
But before we get to that, we have rewards that matter. Specifically talking about sunsetting. Sunsetting is dead! Cue the dancing crabs. It's out.
Long live sunsetting.
R.I.P. sunsetting. 2020 to 2021.
Literally only made it 2 seasons before it got sunset.
I mean, dude, we're 3 weeks into this season. If this were to happen, I was talking with our friend Matt about this earlier. I didn't expect this to happen, if it ever happened, until at least the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
They literally just needed a reason to get rid of Mountaintop. That's it.
That's pretty much what this comes down to, is they needed an excuse to get rid of Mountaintop, Recluse, Revoker, and Beloved. They needed to get rid of 4 guns. I will say this, in defense of, before we read all this, I will say this, in defense of the initial sunsetting, I do think that we had too much emphasis on those pinnacle weapons, and it was needed. Also, how many of the other weapons were we really using out of the old loot pool? You had 2 or 3 weapons you were going to. No one was using the new stuff, even if it was good. It took us until last season to be like, damn, some of these Season of Dawn and 7 Seraph weapons are actually pretty rad. These are actually
that shotgun, the 7 Seraph shotgun is really good.
Yeah, the CQC, I was a big fan of Patron of Lost Saints. I know people have still Seal Feather Repeater, Line in the Sand. There were some really good ones. And the 7th Seraph weapons overall are still pretty good. I really, really like the Carbide personally, but I always had a better option. It was always an older option. And now with that kind of curated out, okay, I do still think that all the stuff that was available in Forsaken and in Shadowkeep's base expansions should be earnable and should not have a level cap applied. I think that's something they still need to address, even if they're not meta weapons. Yep, if it's payable, you should still be able to play with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But here they flat out say, we made the decision that any weapon or armor that can currently be infused to max power will continue to be able to reach it permanently. Starting in Season 14, we won't be capping infusion on weapons or armor that have not already reached the cap at the start of Season 13, which means you can take Trusty, Falling Guillotine, and all the high stat armor you earned this year to take on the raid in the Witch Queen. This is important. There was no right way to handle this, and I think this is handled the best way it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to undo this. Because if you went back and said, oh, anything that you earn can be used, so many veteran players, myself included, would have been pissed because a lot of us cleaned out our vaults.
Yeah. I would have been pulling out that Nameless Midnight.
I would have been pulling out my Blast Furnace, right? Like, I still have the weapons that really matter to me, but I know I got rid of rolls on some weapons that would be good now. Some of the old raid weapons, you know, from like years 1 and 2. And this is probably the most fair way to do it. I know a lot of people were going, oh my God, Season of Dawn just got sunset like 2 weeks ago. Really?
Yeah.
You couldn't have done this before then? Like, they had to, no pun intended, they had to draw a line somewhere. They had to draw a line in the sand.
So
and it's here.
I'm really glad that this happened because I was staring at my inventory like over the last 2 days, and I'm looking at my full set of masterworked Season of Arrivals armor, and I'm looking at Falling Guillotine, and those weapons and armor literally had one more season available that they, you know, you could use them, and I was really getting bummed out about that. Not because of like of any, I mean, Falling Guillotine, there's some attachment there, but to like the armor, there's really no attachment. But just the amount of time that I was going to have to dedicate to regrinding all the materials to now
grinding out those materials really sucks, especially like when you can see the end of it.
I've talked about this briefly before, but this is why I adopted the theory a few seasons ago. I masterworked a piece of armor or two from different seasons, so they wouldn't all expire at the same time. I got them staggered on a schedule, so I wasn't always having to kill myself every or like every couple seasons having to just grind out an entire set, or like my weapons or something like that. I can focus on using my cores and my prisms on my weapons as opposed to my armor. And this being like this, though, I'm 100% going to now make a full set of Arc, Void, and Solar armors, so I can change out those pieces and have my different mods on them. I'm 100% going to do that with the high statted armor we get for free out of the pass.
The only downside to doing it that way, though, is that might not support mods of the future, because obviously, like
that's fine.
The downside to the armor that I have now, and the last couple days, a bunch of content creators have been releasing videos on the new Elemental Well mods that we got this season, and my armor can't use it. The only thing that it can slot into are my exotics, so that's the only downside to that theory. But I do like that concept.
I think that's got to be updated at some point too. I think they just need to go in, because especially if you're gonna say this, I mean, and of course that's a mechanic for us to grind out more, and they could just as easily go, well, we give you a free set of, and it is very high statted armor that we get out of the season pass every year, right, or every season. It's why I wait till the end to grab it, in case, like, oh, I get something that's even, like, too light above what I currently have in that slot. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and infuse into this. I'm going to level this up. Or I'm going to change the element to be something that I want. Like, I'm never going to go through and, like, masterwork a set every single season. And with Transmog, I couldn't give less of a shit at this point about how butt ugly the arm. Give me the dildo armor. I don't care. I'll put it on if it's my highest stat, and I'll slap on some Eververse ornaments that I have. Right? Like, I can't tell you the last time I had the natural armor walking around in the world.
Oh man, there's a lot to unpack with that statement.
I gotta tell you though, like, I have some really good rolls on some really ugly armor, and this transmog cannot come fast enough.
So I feel like armor, I mean, with removing sunsetting from armor, I feel like armor is actually in a really good place right now. Like, we have ways of, and the first thing I noticed with Iron Banner this season is all of the Iron Banner gear that I got was over 60 stats, like consistently. So we have ways of grinding out high level, high stat armor now. We'll have transmog, so whatever it looks like won't give a shit. And for the most part, with the exception of mods, I mean, your armor is there indefinitely for you. So I feel like armor's in a really good spot moving forward.
It is. And like, I think you brought up an interesting point where mods of the future may require us to grind out new sets of armor. And I'm okay with that if I'm not doing it every single season. If it's like, say every release year, we get a new concept introduced, like Charged with Light, Elemental Wells, Warmind Cells. We get something new introduced at the beginning of that expansion, and they just build on that throughout the year. And like the armor will support that mod set and all previous ones. I would love that. I'd be okay if I was doing this once a year.
Or even if the system that they do, and like, let's say they introduce a new system sort of bi-yearly, so every like two seasons. If the systems complement each other well enough, I'm fine with it. Like, it feels like Charged with Light and this new elemental system that we're getting,
they're meant to work together.
They meant to work together because we have mods that sort of work in tandem between the two systems.
Right. Something else that I want to note here. Because we will not be capping any more of our weapons, we must consider more variables in game balance of upcoming seasons and releases. So expect to see tuning when it comes to our biggest outliers in PvP and PvE. Yes, I'm looking at you, Fellwinters and Warmind Cells.
Thank God. Please nerf Fellwinters into the ground.
I have to imagine that they're about to do that.
I'm so tired of seeing
I
that
wouldn't
weapon.
be shocked if they came out and said, "Ha, we lied. We have to sunset one more weapon." If you literally only sunset Fellwinters, I'm pretty sure most of the community would thank you for it.
Can we sunset?
No, the people that use it would hate you. The people that don't have it or don't use it would love you.
It's not just Fellwinters, it's shotguns to a whole. Shotguns combined with Stasis have just made the Crucible just insanely unfun for the last couple of months.
I could do an entire episode where we just dissect shotguns and but Fellwinters is a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, Fellwinters was bad enough in Destiny 1, and we all wondered when we saw they were bringing it back in D2, we were like, oh god, oh lord, here we go. And then they made it a pinnacle, and we were like, well, at least it'll only be around for a year. That was before Stasis. Before Stasis, it was manageable. Now, like Iron Banner is just, it's damn near unplayable this season.
It's Iron Banner, like I played a couple matches on Tuesday night, and I was like, man, it is a Stasis clusterfuck with a whole bunch of shotguns.
With friends, like Nerd, Matt, and I were jumping into some matches. I played a few with Johnny and his girlfriend. That was fun. I went into the solo playlist, which I actually had a pretty good time with last season, and it was just genuinely one of the worst experiences I've ever had in PvP. I have had more fun in Trials than I had in Iron Man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Are you jumping off the cliff in Trials too there, Josh?
I actually can win matches and rounds in Trials. So
he took his spankings like a real man.
I did.
Or woman.
I also spanked them right back. I took Jotun in there. I'm not proud of it, but I did it.
He memed a little.
You are proud of it.
I'm a little proud of it because it got us some wins. So if I don't get hate mail afterwards, it didn't trigger him enough.
So the question here is, okay, we've got sort of their next two targets for nerfing, and for the most part, I can support those. I mean, I like Warmind Cells a lot. I
do too. But they've had a full year in the sun now. I'm okay with them not dialing them, not like nerfing them into the ground, but dialing them back just enough.
So what I want your predictions, both of you. What's the next either weapon class or exotic? What's the next thing outside of those two to get nerfed?
I think
the new Titan exotic.
Oh, okay, hold on. That's obvious. That's obvious. I mean, when you're one-shotting bosses, outside of the new Titan exotic, please give me something else.
I think it's almost certain, and so I hesitate on giving this answer because it's the only viable option for so many endgame encounters that is attainable for people to get. I feel like Xenophage is going to have to be on that list.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking Xenophage
but
at some point.
It comes with a caveat. That is only if, and I can't see any reason why this gun does not make it back in with the Vault of Glass. If Vex Mythoclast does not come back, it will not be nerfed.
So I was going to also say Xenophage or Anarchy. However, They could just theoretically leave those two without catalysts for another indefinite period of time.
They're never getting catalysts.
Oh man.
Never.
But yeah, I think those two are definitely on the list to get nerfed.
I think they're on the list, but I think at the same time, Bungie has made Anarchy very difficult to obtain if you don't already have it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do a lot of grinding in the raids in order to get it. It's not just a cakewalk thing. I mean, like, I think our friend Max got it finally, and you had to get 240 spoils, which I think is the max you can carry. I don't know how many runs of fucking Deepstone he did across 3 characters to finally get it. If he finally got it. But I feel like that's in an okay place just because what you have to do to get it. If you really didn't sit down and grind it in that last season in Arrivals, then okay, like it may be the strat, but I think they're okay knowing that really only like the dedicated people went out and farmed for it. And likewise, I mean, you have to do a ton of raiding to get it now. Like, okay, Xeno on the other hand, I think is a lot harder to justify a nerf for because it is the main damage dealing weapon that a lot of people can get for range.
And it really, on its own, standing on its own, it's probably not as good. When it's only like really top tier when you pair it with Divinity.
When you pair it with Divinity, or you pair it with a whole team using it.
Yeah.
I can't see them. I feel like it's a nerf target, but at the same time, I think the outcry justifiably from the quiet majority, that would swell if you were to nerf Xeno, because that gun was dog shit when it first came out. They buffed it to what it is now, and I just don't think you can reduce that damage. Like, there's plenty of bosses where it's not super effective on. The current boss in Presage, it is not super effective on that boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard as shit to get a precision on that boss.
Yeah.
Like, that's where Xeno is most effective, is if you're chaining those precision kills. Or you have, like you said, a divinity bubble to aim at, so it doesn't matter about the kickback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like this new bow is going to get one, too, pretty quickly.
Interesting.
For the people that it's working for, it's really working for them.
Yeah, but if you look back, not to prolong this conversation, but if you look back at what Bungie has nerfed in PvE, it's boss damage stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Whisper, don't
remind me about Whisper.
Yeah, they nerfed boss damage stuff. So their rocket buff wasn't enough, in my opinion. Like, I feel like rockets,
it's got to go up like another 15-20%.
Yeah, I don't feel like rockets are in a good enough place. So I feel like they're gonna continue to target boss damage weapons and mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna unpopular opinion. I don't think they're gonna nerf any exotics for a little bit. I think across the board exotics, at least as it comes to boss damage and PvE, are in a pretty good place. The one that I feel like if there was anything, it would be if like we had another falling guillotine situation, which I think they've nerfed that enough now to where it's still a viable option, but it may not be your first choice anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They've done a really good job of making sure that Lament never became falling guillotine 2.0, although I do feel at some point they're going to let Lament's damage rise just a little bit, because exotics, in my opinion, should be overpowered when it comes to PvE. You had to do quests for most of these guns. Like, Xenophage is not a walk in the park to get for the average player.
Yeah.
Anarchy is literally unattainable for a casual player. Like, these are weapons that the amount of time you put into getting these, you didn't go buy Xenophage from a fucking kiosk. You didn't get it out of the season pass. You had to earn that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like weapons like that should hold a little bit more prestige. Like, there should almost be like tiers to the exotics. Like, if it's something that you got given in the season pass, it should be like the lowest tier. If it's something you can get out of the kiosk right now, should be a lower tier. But if it's something you got to go grind a quest out for, you got to go do the Presage. You got to go do Harbinger, dude. Like, if you got to go do those to get your random rolls, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those should be top tier PvE and PvP weapons at that point, I feel, because you had to go get a specific role. You had to do that activity continuously. You know, God knows how many runs I'm going to end up doing of Presage just to get the 4 times the charm Dead Man's Tail.
That hasn't stopped them, though. I mean, look, they nerfed both Whisper and the Aikilo Shoddy, which were ridiculous grinds to get,
right?
In my opinion,
And
especially at the time.
I think we're dealing with a different Bungie though now. Like that was 2-3 years ago. I feel like, especially with Joe Blackburn being in charge of the game now, like Luke Smith kind of moving off it, I think we're getting a different approach to the overall team with him and I forget his last name, but Justin, who's going to be the actual game director. Mm-hmm. I feel like or a franchise director, whatever you want to call it. I feel like you're in a lot better place with those guys now. Right. Not that Luke was out of touch, but when you've worked on this exclusively for like 6 years as the guy in charge, it could be a little hard to see a viewpoint other than yours, I think.
Well, Joe says that at the beginning of the article. He's like, Destiny is at its best when people are seeing it with different eyes than what they saw in the previous generation. So totally makes sense.
It's good to move Luke and Mark to overseeing the franchise as a whole. Mm-hmm. To being the franchise directors and VPs. I think that's great. Overall, they're still the creative forces behind the story, behind ideas that are going to be implemented, but it's up to Joe and Justin to really implement those. And I think that was a great idea. Just like I said last week, I think it was great to take Chris Barrett off Destiny and have him go run Matter, the new IP. Mm-hmm. It worked. Bungie is a studio that works best when you've got multiple different viewpoints. Like Joe Staten being in charge of the cinematics and Halo ensured that we got this incredible story because he also wrote novels outside of that. And now he's back as the director of Infinite. Mm-hmm. Like it's just great to see these cycles going. And I'm very excited to see what they decide to do in the evolution of the franchise and of. That was really loud thunder. Holy shit. Okay.
It's a Titan thunder crashing into your apartment building.
It's fucking Johnny showing up on my front doorstep.
What did you say about Trials, Josh?
But while we're talking about infusions and increases, we might as well go ahead and get this out of the way now. The power cap each season, they've flip-flopped on this a couple times. In Black Armory, Joker's Wild, and Season of Opulence, we increased by 50 light each season. And you had your big jump in Shadowkeep. And then each season during Shadowkeep, you had 10 light. Well, now they've gone back to 50, and now we're switching back to 10. As of season 14, it's only going to be 10 light per season. I think Dotto described it best today when he said this is a Band-Aid at best. To me, this is still probably the biggest thing facing Destiny as a franchise. Is how do you make an arbitrary number actually mean something other than time gating you out of activities?
I think every MMO struggles with this.
They absolutely do. That's why we're having a conversation.
Not many of them have really gotten it right. I mean, I foresee a bunch of issues with this. As somebody who plays Destiny as frequently as both you and I do, this is nice because I hate taking off my completely masterworked gear to put on blues for a few hours at the beginning of a season.
Or having to inspect every single blue.
Exactly. But where I think this is going to draw issues is longevity of holding people's attention throughout the season. Because the way that my seasonal progression kind of works, the first week or two are spent getting up to the powerful cap, and then you're doing all the activities available to you, and then you start focusing on your pinnacle activities for the next few weeks. If I'm starting out at the powerful cap and just working at pinnacle level, I'm not gonna do half of the activities in the director because they don't reward me with any powerful gains that I need to move up. So unless you're rewarding people with new and interesting loot from those activities, or there's some kind of variation on those activities that's fun, I'm not going to play them because they're not benefiting me as a player.
So, and that's exactly the argument I had last year when I was asked, why don't you ever go for pinnacle sources? And I'm like, because I'm tired of running strikes. I don't really feel like playing Gambit this week. I'll go get my Crucible ones all the time because I have fun playing Crucible with friends. Well, that's gone now. And
we're moving in the right direction because we've got, Gambit specific loot. We've got Nightfall specific loot, but there needs to be more of that to really make that stuff worth it. Sorry, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. You're good. You're good. I think nailing the power gap is really something that like you said, most MMOs struggle with, and Destiny trying to be a hybrid FPS MMO, it's trying to do something that isn't done out there by anybody else, right? And it's at the same time it's trying to feel rewarding but not punishing to players who are casual. They're trying to simultaneously cater to the hardcore crowd, to the hardcore. I wouldn't classify us as hardcore. I'd say that we're or like you got the pro players, right? You got the Dados and the Glads of the world, the true vanguards. You've got the hardcore enthusiasts like us.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the casuals who may pop in occasionally. My girlfriend, my buddy Phil, like these are the kind of things that deter them from wanting to be more involved in the game. Is they don't want to have to grind out new stuff every single time they come back. Like it's what's deterred a friend of mine, Ray, from coming back for so long is he's just like, why on earth would I want to come back? He's like, every time I come back, my stuff doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God that problem's going away now next season. But it did enough damage to the game in the long run. Like he wanted to jump back in last summer, and then he saw that he's like, "Oh, why would I even bother? My stuff isn't going to be useful."
Mm-hmm.
So I think trying to balance the expectations of the community of the hardcore player base, but also still make it to where new people want to come jump in, so you're not relying on the same like 2 million customers every year, is a big deal. That's very difficult to do. Like there's a reason why this game has stuck around as long as it has. They're trying to ensure it sticks around longer than another year or two, though.
Yeah.
And to do that, I think you have to figure out this problem needs to be figured out in the next like 6 to 12 months. I think you need to come up with a permanent solution, because every other year we have new ways to infuse, new ways to level up, and we got to learn a whole new fucking system. And we're all getting real sick and tired of it. I'm going to tell you that right now. We had the same thing in Destiny 1.
What was wrong with the old infusion system, right? Like, I mean, I don't understand, like...
It's putting an artificial grind in, is what it is. It's making it... They're trying to make it feel more rewarding for those people who play all the time, and instead all it's doing is it's making the people who play all the time hate their lives because they got to go grind materials, and it's making the casual players really hate their lives because they feel like they don't have top-tier gear ever.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
yeah.
I'm not one of those who's like, oh, you have to always have fully masterwork gear and stuff. Like, unless you're raiding all the time or you're playing a ton of comp and trials, you don't need to be fully masterworked. You really don't. Yeah. I did not masterwork my stuff until trials came back, and I was perfectly fine. I would do it for weapons. I wouldn't do it for anything else.
Yeah. I mean, last season, or probably 2 seasons ago, was really the first time I ever, like, started grinding out a full masterwork set of gear, right? Like, I didn't really see, like, I mean, I know it's, like, worth doing but, like, if I only have a few hours a week to play, right? Like, I mean, or a few hours a night to play, I don't know, man.
What it comes down to
they're in a tough spot. Like, they're in a tough spot. And it kind of sucks, too, especially with the way, like, the story and stuff is going. Not just, like, the grinding out aspect and stuff, but, like, I've had so many people message me, like, I've been out of Destiny for, like, 1 or 2 years, or almost since vanilla Destiny 2. Like, how do I get back in? Where do I jump in at? Like, how do I start playing? And I'm, like, the first thing I say is, like, well, you should probably play through the campaigns. Like, those are pretty important story beats if you're in it for the story, because if you've been gone for 2 or 3 years, you're not going to become a hardcore player overnight, right? And then they're like, well, what weapon should I go after? I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're just jumping in. Like, it doesn't matter at this point, right? You need to learn the mechanics and all the different systems and all the different types of gear and what's worth. Like, if you're going to try to play Crucible at some point, like, you should know what kind of rolls you're looking for or stats, but like, you should just learn the mechanics of the game before you start jumping into the hardcore mechanics of the game. And then they're like, oh, that sounds like a lot. I'm like, well, it is. Like, this is a game that it's not a first person shooter, right? It's an MMO like RPG that just happens to have first person shooter mechanics, right? Like, I think that's where some casual players get lost too, is like they're trying to play this like Halo, and it's not.
I mean, I'm gonna give a hot take, and I'm gonna say that they will probably never come up with a good solution for this, because, like I said earlier, like, this has been an MMO problem for 20 years now, or however long MMOs have really been a thing. they will probably never really solve this problem because you're appealing to new players, but in all honesty, like for Destiny to have an influx, like a substantial influx of new players at this late in the game, we're 6 years into the franchise, 7 years into the franchise, or however long it's been, you're probably not going to see a huge influx of new players. I mean, you're going to have to.
I don't really see a huge influx of new players until after that final, saga, like the end of this Light and Dark saga, right? And that's where they can kind of hit a light reset button, right? Of like, okay, we're going to start telling a new story here. Here's where we're going to try to get new players. And it also depends on what they want to do after that expansion, right? Like, I mean,
and that's what made the doubling and tripling down of the new Light experience so bizarre. And it's even more bizarre now in light of the comments that they made a couple weeks ago about how, we're not going to expand the Cosmodrome out as much as it was in Destiny 1, which, okay, fine. I don't think any of us really expected that anymore at this point. But that whole area just feels really empty and pointless. Mm-hmm. Even though I get that it's mainly there for new Light stuff and for the strikes. Don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled that we got those 3 strikes back. Devil's Lair is why I fell in love with Destiny in the first place. It was okay. Then I played that in the alpha, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm here for this, like forever. I'm hooked on this franchise. This is the kind of shit that I want."
D1 Alpha Veteran right here.
D1 Alpha Vet. That's right.
D1 Alpha Vet.
I think those experiences, though, like if they didn't grab you the first couple times around, I don't think anybody is downloading New Light unless they have a big group of friends who play and they've just held out on the pressure to join for this long.
Also,
they're gonna go, I gotta join this. I gotta play this.
To that point, though, Josh, like I've had a lot of people message me like, why do we have to keep playing the same things over and over again? I'm like, because it's an RPG. You got to grind it out.
MMO.
Like you have to. This is how you level up. This is how you grind out rolls of gear or pinnacle weapons or whatever. Like
right.
a lot of people are still struggling because it looks like a first person shooter.
Right.
That it's not a first-person shooter.
That's where I think it kind of comes back to what I was saying, like what we've all been getting at. It's a game that, like, Bungie is so desperate for this to be an MMO. They call it as much so many times in this state of the game.
Yeah, it says...
It is first and foremost a first-person shooter, though, that you happen to play with your friends. Mm-hmm. This is... I think they're still a ways away from taking that real step into MMO territory. I think you got to abandon the now legacy consoles in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fully be on PS5 and Series X in order to even have a shot in hell at doing that.
Now, let me ask you this question. Yeah. I know previously we said maybe the Witch Queen, they'll drop the previous gen consoles. Now that they say that this is kind of a 4 expansion saga, do you think they're going to keep those consoles around until the end of that? Or do you still think do you think they're going to push that back, though? Do you think Lightfall is going to be the one where they drop it? Or do you think Witch Queen is really going to be the one where they drop it?
I think now with the Witch Queen delay, it's not coming in like September or November like we thought. It's going to come probably in February of next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it. Drop those consoles. It's 2022. Drop them. I mean, we were talking before the show. Like we feel the Halo Infinite needs to drop them. Like it sucks, but they did this in Destiny 1, right? They did not release Rise of Iron on 360 and PS3.
Yeah, it's because of that.
Said it couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that SIVA. It was the SIVA particle effects that they were like, we just can't make the SIVA stuff work in.
You're gonna hit a barrier where you're not gonna be able to put these next 3 expansions all on there. You may get away with Witch Queen, but eventually the frame rate drop is going to be so god awful.
Listen,
it's
guys,
just not going to happen.
Listen, in the future, we're not going to be able to fit anything but Call of Duty on our consoles anyway.
Oh
so we're going to have
to see that it's not even fitting on 500 gig hard drives anymore.
Yeah,
that's why I said it. Man.
It sucks for people who have Series S's.
Yeah, I just I look at that and every day I'm like, okay, I'm pretty happy that we did sunsetting before this game ballooned to like 250 gigs.
I want to see the person who just bought the expansion drive for their Series S and it just has a label from a label maker that says Call of Duty on it.
I mean, we joke, but that's a very real problem, and that's something that I feel like Bungie was trying to avoid by sunsetting these planets, and they're weaving it into the narrative finally. Like, I'm actually very happy that they're doing that. Like, we're going to touch on that in some lore corners in the future, but they finally kind of addressed that in Dead Man's Tale, like sort of what's going on with those anomalies. And I think that's really cool. But we're gonna go ahead and move on, guys. We're gonna move on to really the big chunk that I think a lot of people were looking for, which is a massive PvP update. or at least addressing the elephant in the room that is PvP. I shouldn't say update. I should say addressing elephants in the room.
What is this elephant, Josh?
This elephant is on a rampage right now, and its name is Stasis.
I would say a woolly mammoth in the room because it's
the
Stasis,
first
icy.
The first big one is something that I know.
The Ice Age is over, everyone.
It's just the muskrat chasing the acorn through Bannerfall.
I know Nerd and I have the same opinion on this one in particular. First,
what? No, don't you assume anything of me,
I'm
Josh.
absolutely assuming, because you and I have talked about this directly.
I might lie.
In season 15, we'll be addressing 3-peaking in Trials and in Comp.
Hey man, the Bungie developers are 3-peaking. It's a feature, guys.
It's
Listen.
awesome when they give you a sword and then they take that feature away in Trials.
Emotes will be disabled and players will be unable to pull out any third-person weapon that doesn't have ammo. Third-person experiences are part of what makes Destiny's gameplay feel good, but it was clear in our most competitive arenas these mechanics are being used in ways we did not intend. It's a tricky problem to solve in the sandbox. We think this is a good starting point.
I could 3-peak with my empowering rift. Like, I'm sorry, like
right, but you can't continually sit there and do it for like 20 seconds, watching them come down the straightaway or something.
Yes,
this is it's a starting point. It's something I've seen a lot of trial streamers, complain about. I think Stasis has made it even worse, especially with like the fucking what do you call it? The ninja stars that the hunters have. If you're sitting there 3-peaking and you see somebody running, aim and throw. You're not just guessing anymore. Or, people bringing swords in, etc. This pretty much confirms that it's not just swords that we're going to get as third-person weapons, though. This is the further confirmation, I think, that we're getting the fucking big hammer.
I can't wait. I can't wait for a hammer.
I hope that's an exotic at the end of the season.
It's giving me Rise of Iron vibes, guys. It's getting me.
If the Rise of Iron...
It's getting a rise out of him, guys.
It is.
Something else is rising.
It's making my iron rise. You know what I mean?
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm going to put the hammer down. That third kid's coming next year, guys.
Oh my God.
I'm naming it Savathun.
Oh,
Saladin.
Over the next several seasons, we'll be making changes.
That's right to the next.
We'll be making changes to Stasis and Light subclasses to achieve a healthier balance of subclasses in Crucible. Across 13 and 14, we will be adjusting Stasis in the Crucible to bring its overall effectiveness in Light with our Light subclasses. Before we get into some of these changes, I think that's really good because a lot of people have said, well, you have Stasis up here. Why don't you just bring the Light up there? You can't do that. Yeah. You will have the entire game out of whack at that point. I think the best solution is to, especially now that we know they can target changes specifically in PvP as opposed to both like it used to be, they can nerf Stasis in the Crucible down to like where the top tier PvP subclasses are without it being overwhelming. Mm-hmm.
It's a simple formula. If you have balance and you introduce something and then you're out of balance, you need to regress the thing.
We all knew that this was going to be a learning curve with Stasis. I just don't think any of us expected it. And I don't think Bungie did either, for it to just throw the entire game far out of alignment.
I don't think they play tested it very much.
I think it's. I'll be completely honest with you. I think it's extremely hard to do QA and play testing in the modern age right now. I don't think anybody has nailed a way to do that quite well working from home. And that's not me being apologetic. I think Stasis was still pretty damn early in development when they had to switch to working from home, though. And that led to them trying to do this on the fly, which, I mean, God, look at so many of the games that came out last fall, right, that are just bug-ridden, and ones that are going to come out this spring that are going to be just as bad, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not going. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say,
go for it.
I'm going to call bullshit on that because the first thing I said the moment I cast my Warlock Super in Stasis, I said, oh shit, this is going to fucking break Crucible.
Yep.
I knew it the moment I did it. And I'm sorry, if Destiny is your job and you literally are focusing on that 8 hours a day and you don't see that, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I play Destiny 8 hours a day too most of the time, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, somebody has got to see that. Now, I think they knew it was a problem. They didn't know how to fix it, and they ran out of time. And now this is their. We
saw the reactionary change to the Warlocks almost instantly, right?
Oh yeah,
and it's funny because we saw that fucking Titans got a buff during that, which made it even worse.
Or better.
So let's go ahead and let's talk about some of the changes real fast, because we have one of each of us here tonight. Behemoth Titans: decrease super damage reduction, increase energy costs when performing light attacks.
Good.
Remove freeze AoE on super cast.
Fuck them.
Reduce traveling efficiency of Shiver Strike when slow.
Sorry, Corey. I'll let you talk. You're the Titan.
No, I mean that's fine. I get it. Look, Titan.
This is a super that it's just as bad as Winter's Wrath was right away. You are able to you can wipe an entire team and cross to their spawn and still have some super left.
Yeah,
and that's just fucking bullshit for any super.
The Titan Stasis super is ungodly long. It lasts so long. Yeah. It lasts so long. Like I was playing.
It's flashbacks to D1 Tickle Fingers. Is what its flashbacks to when that was first introduced in Taken King.
Mm-hmm.
It took us a whole year to get it fucking nerfed.
Hold on. You got a D2 alpha veteran here. I didn't play much D1. What the fuck is Tickle Fingers?
Stormcaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emperor Palpatine.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clearing that up.
I was playing Crucible the other day and I was using Stasis because it was part of some sort of, I was doing some super bounty, and it was insane how long this lasted. I killed 6 people in a row, and I'm like, 2 of these guys were like people I killed already. Like, it was insane. It was dumb.
You probably made some people uninstall the game.
I probably did. It was awesome. It was the best Crucible match I ever had, and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna keep Stasis on. This works.
That's how you know we got to nerf it if Corey's having good matches.
I am. I had a positive kill death ratio.
They specifically waited for Corey to have a good match, and then they're like, nope, fuck Titans.
Yeah, they're like, let's watch this Corey and HD guy and make sure that he's not good at Crucible. And oh my god, he's having a hell of a night. He's having a career night in Crucible, guys. We got to nerf it. Nerf.
Somebody called emergency meeting on it.
Yeah. Get that foam out, guys. Get that foam out. Got to nerf it.
Revenant Hunter decreases withering blade damage and tracking. Slow stacks applied to targets are decreased, and remove shatter dive damage reduction. These are all good changes. Because let me tell you something, those ninja stars, and of course it never works for me, but if you can nail 2 of those, right, if you can get a shot off and then fire 2 ninja stars, dude's instantly dead. You don't even have to fire the shot, honestly.
Dude,
you can get instant kills right there. It's
crazy. Dude, I've gotten killed by those blades so many times in Crucible. It's like I
can't get kills to save my life. But one change that I really hope that they come out and make, it's a Gambit specific change that I want them to make with the Hunter. When so many times I'll see a Hunter invade, they'll get down to like 5 seconds left, and they'll hurl Silence and Squall, and then they'll be teleported back to their side. Their super is still terrorizing us for like another 15-20 seconds.
Nova Bomb does that too. That's why I always use Slova Bomb, because you can cast it right as you leave.
I'm not as worried about that, because it impacts. This legitimately locks down an entire area of the map you can't go to. And that's... I play as a Hunter. I use fucking Stasis and Gambit. I think that's bullshit. It should disappear when you get teleported back to your side. That super should disappear. That's some fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the major change I would make to Hunters, I think. Shatter dive. Yeah, if somebody goes up to fucking punch down in the air, whether it's a Titan or it's a Hunter, they should be able to get shot out of it. It should not be an auto invincible kill. You should be able to get killed.
Yep.
And slow stacks. I mean, I've never gotten slow stacks really. The Shadebinder is getting a bug fixed where Ice Flare bolts would not track towards targets immediately on creation. They always seem to fucking find me.
No. Nope. They track like shit. Super
projectiles were not tracking until a certain distance traveled. Again, always seem to find me, no matter what.
I mean, these are just we've had 2 rounds of kind of mea culpa buffs to the Shadebinder, because there was just such a drastic reaction to Shadebinder in the week after Beyond Light was released. I think I've run into both of these issues. Do I think they're super serious issues? No, but I'll be happy to have a more accurate super.
So those are the big changes. We have one more. Hang on. We have one more for all classes. Decreased crystal shatter damage. Thank fuck. Thank God. I'm so tired of being like 10 feet back and getting killed because of
That's basically just another nerf on the Titan Super.
Good.
To me, I mean, that's what
that and the ice wall grenades are just the absolute worst for shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The big thing that is not addressed here, and I feel like it is, aside from the Titan Super, it is the elephant in the room when it comes to stasis. The Duskfield grenades.
I think those are fine.
They're not, dude. They're not in trials. They suck you out of the. They suck you straight into the lane. Mm-hmm. If you're crouching behind cover, they'll pull you straight out. I can't tell you the amount of times it's been hurled over. It's hit me on the head and it's pulled me out frozen, and I can't do anything about it.
I think it fits because it's a great counter for lane snipers.
I would say that if it acted like any other grenade did, like you have a split second whenever any other grenade hits to dodge out of the way or to you jump back or something. You don't have that with the Duskfield. You're immediately slowed and frozen, especially if it does the shit where it pulls you out. You are immediately frozen.
Pair that with Witherhoard.
Dude, you pair that with fucking anything, you're getting an auto kill.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Just like, I mean, the Hunter Super can basically track an entire team by itself. We were using it last week. We were throwing it on one side and all of us collapsing on the other to box them in. And it was working great. That's how we got fucking Messenger. But you shouldn't be able to do that. Like, that super just runs wild. You only have to aim with that super. Like, damn, we got a Nova Bomb. You don't have to aim now. Season 15, they're going to focus on light subclasses and targeted buffs, blah, blah, blah. And they really want to bring this back to weapon balance. Because as frustrating as the abilities are, I think this is the best the gunplay has ever been in the Crucible. Mm-hmm. Ironic.
Yeah.
I just don't want to play it right now because it's awful.
Yeah.
And then they talk about cheating and about security. We're aiming to double the size of the security team this year. We've been doing regular surveys to understand experiences with cheating and measure our progress, and begun a strategy of aggressive legal action against cheat developers. Mm-hmm. Those are all things that absolutely need to happen, just in general for PvP. And they do make note, this is particularly on PC. And if crossplay is coming, you have to deal with this in general.
Mm-hmm. It's good to deal with it before crossplay starts too, because that's going to ruin a lot of people's
problem that didn't
enjoyment.
Like, I see a lot of people going, "Oh, it wasn't this bad in Destiny 1. It was never this bad." No, it was on fucking consoles, you twat. Like, of course you didn't have as much of a problem. It wasn't on fucking Steam.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a problem on Battle.net and Steam since Destiny 2 came out. It's just, now with trials and comp being such a big thing, like, it's all shifted over there instead of being in the regular Crucible. Right. Like, but speaking of trials, because I don't think we really have anything else to say on game security at this point. We've kind of beat that into the ground before. Mm-hmm. Specific trials changes here. Specifically regarding the matchmaking and the reward structure. They want to improve the overall health of the matchmaking pool by incentivizing a wider audience to engage and better defining separation of skill tiers. Rebuild the reward structure so it encourages more players to stick to their active cards. Current structure encourages a lot of recycling cards after a single loss, meaning the first games of your trials card has a high chance of being incredibly challenging. We want to build a reward structure that continually pushes higher skill players to want to progress deeper into their card even after a loss, making 3 to 5 wins a more achievable goal for more players. And investigate opportunities for solo players to participate in trials regularly. Then they make a final note here at the end that after trials, they're going to do a similar in scope refresh to the Iron Banner playlist. These are the changes. These are the beginning of the changes that I think need to happen with trials. Trials as a whole just needs to be completely overhauled at this point.
I mean, when you have players who are throwing, 40 rounds worth of trials straight just to get a piece of gear, that's indicative of a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big
when I saw the headline of like people jumping off the sides of the map just to get trials gear, I'm like, you should probably do something about this. You should probably take a look and see why they're jumping off the edge.
And I mean, like for me, it's really easy to go, well, you could try, but more often than not, that ends in frustration unless you're playing with a group that is really into PvP and you play together as a group all the time. Like John Max and I can go in and win, 2-3 rounds or matches. Excuse me, we can win a couple matches, but normally by the time we get to the third match, we've already lost almost enough to kill our card completely. Like we're struggling just to hit that. Like we're hoping to just get the bounty done by that point. But even that's probably about an hour and a half of playing. And I hate right now the system of your tokens disappear at the end of the week. Let me save those tokens up and buy an engram. I like that the loot pool is targeted right now towards things that you unlocked before. So like my loot pool right now is going to consist of old Trials armor, Messenger, the Fusion Rifle, Exile's Curse, and Summoner, the auto rifle. It's going to draw from those. I had the idea when I was talking with Nerd the other day to take the armor from the original run of Trials from this past year that is now no longer earnable. Drop those as ornaments. Drop those as cosmetic ornaments for people. Drop the stuff that can no longer be earned. If you want the new stuff, be prepared to do the bounties or to win.
Well,
but I think like the initial roll of the weapons, even if it's just a set roll that is across the board decent for all players, should be easily earnable. The bounty was a good first step towards that, but you got to give rewards at the end of these matches. If you're not going to give us like a chance for Trials that is increased as you win rounds, for example. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to go into this, and I mean, I've got a whole thing, thoughts about it. I'm not gonna dive into that here, but there's a thing that I like that they point out in the first point, the better defining separation of skill tiers, which is something we really don't have in Destiny PvP. Is any kind of like, I mean, I don't think there's an ELO system.
There's not.
At least there doesn't seem to be. So like we need some kind of tiering system. We need some kind of ELO system that skill-based matchmaking that puts you in there with people of similar skill and you can improve. I mean that's pretty much common sense in any game with multiplayer PvP elements. We need something like that. I don't want to bang my head off of, super sweaty 3 stacks every weekend. I want to face people of my level and get better and get better and get better and get better until I hit my cap of skill.
Unpopular opinion, I think skill-based matchmaking should be part of Trials. I know that people were screaming bloody murder that it was part of Crucible, so Bungie took it out sometime during Shadowkeep. I never really had a problem with that because I always play with people who are similar level to me. And I enjoy being matched up against people who are as good as me because we all suck.
I mean,
so
the
there's
people
chances to win.
The people who were screaming about that were content creators who want to go in and make highlight videos of them shitting on people like me who can't, who can't.
You're absolutely
lane.
Right.
So no, fuck that.
Yeah,
put it in the game.
I would like skill-based matchmaking back for this, and for comp personally. The solo playlist, I mean, that made comp bearable for me. That's how I rode the solo playlist to Recluse, right? Like to Revoker, like I had no problem. Fucking Komodo, which I've never used, like I had no problem doing it once there was a solo playlist.
Yeah.
Likewise, like we discussed it earlier, I think that Iron Banner really benefited from a solo playlist. It's just Stasis has completely ruined Crucible at this point.
Yeah.
But I think those are good, solid steps. I don't quite know how you do a freelance playlist for Trials, but I'm curious to see how that unfolds. I would 100% play more Trials if I didn't have to wait for my buddies to be online. I would actually go in and try it.
There is no downside to putting a freelance matchmaking in for every activity in Destiny. And I know that people are going to say, well, but raids and Trials. No, if I want to make the conscious decision to go and get my ass handed to me or go into a raid and not know mechanics, that's my decision, and I've chosen to do that. There should be matchmaking for all activities as a solo player, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's getting rougher and rougher for solo players. It's simultaneously getting rougher and better for a lot of them. Like, I still think that raids... Deepstone Crypt is the first raid where I've really gone, okay, You don't have to be in a group of friends to do this. But like Last Wish and Garden, you have to be with people who know what they're fucking doing if it's your first time. You can't go in as a group of randos. You're going to have a real bad time doing either of those.
Mm-hmm.
But like Deep Stone, like look how many times we've taken new Guardians through, or new to the Deep Stone Crypt Nerd. Like even people who don't raid very often, like we've taken them in and been able to just, we're in and out in 90 minutes and everybody's doing their part. Everyone is assigned a role. Nobody is told, oh, you're just going to stand over here and do nothing. No, you're going to fucking participate and you're going to take up this role so you learn what the roles do.
Yeah.
And this is really the first one where I feel like it's that first step towards, okay, we're going to let you queue for things like this. Or like, oh, if somebody's missing a player, we can put you in on their team or something. You can enable or disable matchmaking on your raid. And I think us having crossplay is going to help with a lot of those issues. With not being able to find groups with LFGs. I think it's all about to get completely revamped, right? But for now, they need to have a solo playlist in Trials. But enable skill-based matchmaking in Trials, and that I guarantee you that will be a hit.
Agree.
Yeah.
And again, it keeps going back to rewards too, right? Like you got it. The rewards got to be rewarding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like everybody wanted Messenger. Everyone wanted that God roll Desperado Messenger, and like I'm bummed that I didn't get it. I did pretty fucking good. I got a good PvE roll, but I got it is dog shit in PvP.
I didn't get shit.
Like it, and it's one of those like. Let me, once I've unlocked it, approach it the way that they do in Deep Stone Crypt at the end. You buy the caches until everything's in your loot pool. When I buy the Ingram, when I do an Ingram with my tokens, give me a piece of gear I don't already own, or give me a high chance to get a piece of gear I don't already own. Once I've unlocked it, let me spend like, instead of 20 tokens for the Ingram, let me pay like 30 or 35 for a new roll on a gun I've unlocked.
Yep,
I would 100% go in and torture myself in Trials if I could just grind a messenger or a summoner all weekend.
That system that they had at the end of Deep Stone Crypt was one of the best possible things they could do for an endgame activity, because not only are you grinding the drops on the bosses, but you also have that extra little thing right at the end that you can say, oh, hey, I didn't quite get the roll on this weapon that I want. I've still got one more chance.
Give me Spoils of Conquest out of Trials and Comp. Or Iron Banner.
Or just tokens.
Give me spoils out of those pinnacle activities, and let me get gear from those vendors that I want.
So are you suggesting that Spoils of Conquest is a sort of like overarching thing? So it's a pinnacle currency that you can use on anything. I like that. Yes. That's a cool concept. I like it.
Yes, because like right now, Spoils of Conquest, and once I've gotten everything unlocked in Deep Stone Crypt, like sure I can still use them to get individual weapons, but I've already on the three weapons that I've gotten God rolls. So like I'm missing a chest piece and I'm missing 3 weapons. Oh, and Eyes of Tomorrow. I'm missing those things.
Fucking Eyes of Tomorrow.
Let me go to Saint and turn in. Let me go to Saint and turn in my spoils. Like that way, I may be a PvE guy who doesn't like to go into PvP, but oh shit, there's this really cool weapon. Let me go torture myself to get it into my loot pool for the weekend via the bounty. I can turn my tokens in for another shot, and if that doesn't work, I've got some spoils I can use to try and get a good roll. I would rather be using my spoils there, or for like let me do it there. Let me try and get a new roll of the Nightfall weapons from Zavala. Like let me do these pinnacle activities that I might not have time to grind for, like you said, in a given week. Once they're in my loot pool, though, like you don't have to buff the drops then. You buff them a little bit, which we're going to get to. Like you make bottom dollar actually drop instead of it being a myth. And once it's in there, though, let me go buy it. Let me spend some spoils. Do I really want to spend my spoils I spent a lot of time getting for another roll on this gun? That's indicative of how bad you want something. I will grind that shit.
I do like that idea. I think that's something that would greatly benefit and it would help unify all the end game activities.
Yep.
So great idea.
Put it in all the end games. Like, and that's why I say like it should be an Iron Banner too, because Iron Banner is an end game activity. It is a pinnacle activity for regular Crucible. And you've got comp, but maybe you don't give it out in comp. Maybe you do Iron Banner, Trials, Grandmaster Nightfalls, or like any Nightfall that requires you to get a team for anything that's not match made.
Yeah.
And I don't know, fuck Gambit. We're not doing anything with Gambit. You do it for those, or like maybe you get 10 that'll drop out of Harbinger or something at the end of the week. Like I'd go play Harbinger every single week if I got spoils out of it. I'm so tired of that activity, but I'd go do it. I'd do Presage every week for something other than the lore. I would go do some of these seasonal activities if you even gave me a chance to earn some spoils of conquest. They're called spoils of conquest. Why should they only drop from the raids?
There was another MMO that I've played in the past that did that. I'm trying to remember what it was. But yeah, every activity, including doing like daily versions of, mundane dungeons, gave you end game currency that you could then turn in. So even if you didn't do the raid and you just did your dailies every single day, but it just took like a month for you to get one piece of gear, you could still work towards something.
Yeah, I think that's part of a bigger conversation we need to have about the end game at some point.
Yeah.
But speaking of the end game, guys,
Yeah.
if nobody else has any other thoughts on rewards and on trials and my spoils of conquest tangent.
I mean, the only thing I want to say is like I would really like to try trials and get in another raid at some point. But that's
Corey, you're in luck because we're about to talk about a raid.
Ooh.
The raid
14. The VOG, the Vault of Glass, is back on the menu.
Did you see?
Drooling.
Did you see? We're entering through Venus.
I did see that it's in the depths of Venus. I'm very excited for what this possibly means. They've shown us with this season, bringing back the old strikes, adding the Cosmodrome and things like that. Like they can do whatever they want to in seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
The Glycon is a whole new zone, like in and of itself. You can do whatever you want to in a season now.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to give us a small section of Venus to go back to, cool. I'm here for it. I loved Venus and Destiny 1.
Give me all of Venus. Except for that little room where you had to shoot Vex for 20 minutes and then the stranger came out and said, I don't have any time to explain to you what this is.
Anyways, philosophy for bringing things out of the content vault is to keep them feeling the content you remember while updating them to meet Destiny 2 difficulty and raid standards. So you should know the raid team has a few tricks up their sleeves when you tackle the depths of Venus this summer. It will launch with a contest mode in the first 24 hours and a World's First raise. But since this is a reprised raid, we're going to do World's First differently. Players looking to claim the belt will not only have to complete the raid, but also a curated list of challenging triumphs. And while only one fire team will walk away with the belt, there will be plenty of opportunities for players to earn the ability to get some sweet real-world loot through Bungie rewards. And before the end of the year, we are looking to add a master version of Vault of Glass. We've been excited about how Master and Grandmaster difficulties have altered the Nightfall strikes, increasing the potency of combat and importance of executing mechanics. We all like our future raid and dungeon content to offer the Master difficulty versions, where players can earn adept raid and dungeon gear. And we weren't able to commit to a Season 14 timeframe for Master VOG. We do want to take the time to develop a sustainable structure that will allow us to ship these closer together in future releases. Thank God. This is one of the only things I've wanted in this game. It's master difficulties of raids and dungeons. Give me that adept shit. I don't want to go do Grandmasters. I want to do a raid. I want to do a punishing raid.
I'm surprised they have not really added this type of stuff in yet. Like it boggles my mind.
It was there in Destiny 1.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. We ran prestige raids every week. Like
we had prestige raids at the beginning of Destiny 2.
All three original Leviathan raids had them, but they were never rewarding.
Or like
you didn't get anything special from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying like, oh, go lock an exotic behind these or something, but if you're gonna have like special mods and like adept guns, like we've already seen how the adept igneous hammer is just tearing it apart in the Crucible right now. That's the Trials hand cannon. If that's gonna be like that, I'm excited to see what adept weapons for the Nightfalls look like and what like an adept trustee would look like.
Ooh.
Like I'm excited for things like this. This adds to the loot pool for those who grind this game. Like this is their main game. They keep coming back to it. This offers incentives to keep doing the raids beyond, oh, well, I got most of the gear. I've seen the story. I've gotten all the lore. I really don't want to go run it like an 8th time. Like master version, no, like, yeah, I'll beat my dick against the wall trying to get that done. And that's like the best of the best will be doing that shit.
I wouldn't beat your dick against a glass wall.
It might.
It might cut it, but
That's a bad idea.
I'm
is it a
very
good idea?
excited about this. Like, even if it's something I know I'm going to struggle with and likely may never complete one, it's still very exciting because it's more opportunities to play and to connect with those Guardians that really want to go for this pinnacle level stuff, right? Like, it needs to be there for those people who this is what they mainly play, content creators and, hardcore casuals alike. Like, it needs to be there for us that are invested in this end game.
Josh
I
froze.
think we lost him.
We did.
He beat his dick against the vault of glass.
He did. And it's triangle shaped, so he stabbed it good. He got it good. Look at him. Look at his face.
Hold on, let me actually open Skype. I'm gonna screenshot it.
He's back.
Literally, I was about to screenshot his
My internet dropped.
open mouth.
We were about to meme you because your face was so good. Don't worry, nerd. I think I got that saved on video.
Meme this.
Yeah, there's lots of things we could put in that image to make it really entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I could.
Anyways, Vault of Glass is back. I'm excited about Master Raids, Master Dungeons. John pointed this out to me earlier. A Master Prophecy would absolutely be harder than any Master Raid, and I'm pretty inclined to agree with that.
I like that they are planning on doing this for every type of encounter. Or high-level encounter, raids and dungeons. I wonder if they'll go back to any of the previous content to bring it back. They say their future raid and dungeon content, so it doesn't sound like we'll be getting like retroactive stuff. They could figure that out though, right? Obviously they want to focus on the newest raid first, but you could go back and do that, right? They did that in D1 at the end where they're like, here's the hard versions of all the raids, and here's all the cool stuff you get from it, right? They did that. It would be nice. It would be nice to be able to go back and breathe some life into some of the older raids. I'm curious as to what the challenging triumphs will be for the raid race. I wonder if those will be akin to the challenges that the weekly challenges that we have now for raids. Do this encounter, but this specific way type of thing. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts? Because
I don't know.
That seems like it would kind of defeat the purpose of a raid race and kind of but then again, this is a raid that a lot of people have done before. So I don't know. What do you think?
There's going to be they're going to throw some wrenches in there because otherwise the Dottos of the world who for example he got world's first.
Maybe he'll finally get world's first in Destiny 2.
I'm sure. In Destiny 2, yeah, because he did Vault of Glass world's first.
I'm sure one of the things isn't going to be, hey, have your whole fire team stand at the top of this thing and shoot the oracles while one person runs around the bottom. I'm sure that's not one of the challenges.
Well, so
I'm not sure. I assume that most of the challenges will be stuff you'll just hit by actually doing the raid. They're gonna throw a couple fucking wrenches in there, and I wouldn't be shocked to see there be a secret triumph that they don't tell you about beforehand, and you have to figure it out yourself. Have some audio logs from Prey Death or something scattered throughout the raid that you have to go hunt down. I don't know.
If I were Bungie, I would play this very safe because what I was thinking about earlier today is that they have really nailed their raid and dungeon content over the last 6 months. We had a good dungeon and we had a good raid back to back. Now, if you come out and you murder Vault of Glass by trying to change it or do something crazy with it, you're going to lose a lot of clout with the PvE community and a lot of the vets that have been around. Because this is the thing that everybody who played D1, who played into D2, has been waiting for, is for this to come back. I know. I've heard you and Corey talk about it at length over and over again. So, this is what everybody's been waiting for. If you go into this and you screw it up, it's going to look really bad.
They got to find that balance, right? They got to be we're going to change things, but not too much, but just enough to surprise veteran players. Maybe they changed that dumb fucking jumping puzzle a little bit, or you know what I mean? Like maybe they add to it and they're like, hey, there's a secret chest up in the corner of the vault room or whatever, right? Like they could do something interesting.
Oh, they're
way.
absolutely going to change the locations of the secret chests. I would absolutely guarantee you on that. I could see, and akin to the jumping puzzle, everybody has to make it through the jumping puzzle without dying.
Are we going to get the last secret chest?
Maybe. I think there's a lot of possibilities you can do here without changing it too much. That's why I was suggesting like finding audio logs or scannables throughout.
Killing the gorgons in the maze.
That could be one. We already know there's going to be champions in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like I think there's plenty of things you can do. Like things you'll probably find as you're going along. But if you really want to do worlds first, you're going to have to explore every fucking corner of this raid. If you want to do worlds first and get that title, that world's first title, guess what? You're going to have to do all this stuff. I don't know. I think that adds a new level of excitement to it. But for the people actually going for worlds first, they're going to be like, oh my God, just kill me. This is the worst. I don't want to go on a treasure hunt during my first run of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I think it'll be really interesting. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, I
love watching them anyways. I love that we participated last year.
I'll be playing through it, but I think... Yep. And I'll be enjoying it, just moving along and completing it. But yeah, this will be a fun one to see these guys finish.
This is one I'll absolutely, if we get it done, I don't know why we wouldn't get it done in the first week or first weekend like we did last time, that I would absolutely buy the jacket for. It's Vault of Glass, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's the OG. But we do have a couple more items to address real quickly here. These are kind of more bullet points. There's a rundown of transmog in here. Ada 1 is going to be back next season for transmogging. They're calling it Armor Synthesis. Every season, she will offer players a set of bounties that highlight various activities. Players can complete these quests and receive the materials to power up the Ada's Loom, which can turn any piece of armor in your collection into a permanent. Players short on time will be able to purchase synthesis tokens for silver. I want to talk about this for a second. We're cutting this off right in the middle. Why are you selling this for fucking silver, you twat waffles?
Why are you making people grind this at all?
Yeah, this should just be a thing.
A grinding element to it. It's an MMO. What I'm more mad about is the fact that they say they're clearly going to limit the amount of these you can get.
Exactly.
And
why?
It's like, you gotta buy these. And listen, I don't know if you guys have ever bought I'm saying this hypothetically because I know you two have, but buying a set of armor ornaments from Eververse is about $15. If I gotta pay $15 for 5 fucking pieces of armor, I'm gonna be pissed. Some of these tokens better be in my goddamn season pass. Some of these better be attainable from me leveling up in the Crucible. Like, these better be available elsewhere other than just
you better be getting some of these through the bounty, like a huge amount through doing these stupid bounties.
I guarantee they will probably give you 10 a season.
I don't think you shouldn't be getting this. Shouldn't be a thing. Like the whole thing is, hey, you grinded this. It's in your collections. Cool. No, I mean, it's dumb. That's all I have to say.
It's dumb. Having to pay for this, having to grind this out is dumb. Do you have to?
I'm preemptively mad about this before seeing it.
In games
I'm gonna
like
stay that way.
In games like WoW and Diablo, do you have to grind out for this?
No. You just have to find the gear.
So why do you have to do it here? This is stupid. This is something I'm gonna say goes away in about 2 seasons when people get so pissed off that they don't want to do it.
Or I agree.
Or they just increase the amount that you get or whatever. But yeah, I largely agree. Beyond that, though, the screen to do this actually looks really, really nifty. I really like how this looks. And it shows you can do blues and greens and even whites as armor transmogs. They do show that in this screen. I'm curious to see if the blues actually hold up, because there are some blue pieces of armor that actually look kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I personally like the really tattered, burned up hunter cloak that you got from that was green that you got from the Solstice a few years ago when you were having to upgrade the armors. I actually really like how that looks, but you're telling me I can get that as an ornament? Okay, cool. At the beginning of season 14, we will be including a starting supply of synthesis materials as a reward for completing the onboarding quest. We know you've been looking forward to this for a long time. We want to front load your ability to create some of the looks you've been looking forward to. This makes me hopeful that they're going to give us like 10 to 15 to kick off the season, and then you can earn like another 10. If you do that, I'm still going to be mad about it, but I'll be less mad about it. I only play one character too, so I'm like not freaking out as much as people who play all three classes. Like, those are the main ones. Like, if you play all three, good luck, my friend, because you're fucked.
Well, you'll probably be able to repeat the seasonal bounty quest to get the onboarding ones. If you can do that
on all three characters, I'll finally boot my Titan up and Beyond Light.
Yeah, I mean, you can. Most of the quests are independent across characters.
I'll finally go do it. If you can earn triple materials, which Bungie would be stupid not to let you at this point, I'd be here for it. I get it. You know, silver, hey, this is an easy mark to earn money. Don't be like that, guys. Don't be like that. So many of us, when we're enjoying the game, are willing to spend silver. I mean, Nerd, you bought the armor ornaments this season.
Yeah, I bought all of the. I think I bought all of the Christmas ones, all the Halloween ones. I bought one. I've only bought one set from this season though. So yeah, I mean, if they put out good ornaments, I'll buy them. But yeah, I'm not gonna.
It's like, as long as you're putting out consistent content that I'm having fun with and playing, I'm willing to spend money in Eververse. Like I try to limit myself to one, maybe two things a season. This season, for example, I bought the new Hunter finisher, and I bought the ornament for Dead Man's Tale, because those are still only this season. I feel okay with spending those. I see that as like a tip of, hey, I'm playing a shitload of this game. I'm having fun. Presage is awesome. Give me more of this here. I'm going to buy the ornament to prove how much I loved it. Just like I did when I finished Outbreak for the first time. Like, give me more of this. I'm okay with spending them on things like that are the harder to complete quests. What I'm not cool with spending money on is this bullshit. Yep. This is stuff, like Corey said, I've already earned it. I should be able to equip it. I completed these raids. I should be able to wear the shit I got from these raids.
Yeah.
I should not have to potentially pay money to wear my raid armor as an armor ornament.
Or like
that should come included.
Or even like outside of that, like the Deepstone Crypt Titan armor is not great, but I have great rolls on them. Like, I should be able to wear that and cover them up with something cool. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you can already do that.
Well, besides the universal ornaments.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for example, like, I guess, so, like, I don't see the universal argument as a huge deal, I guess, because I've played so consistently. And so, like, I have so many completed sets of armor now. Like, I told you guys, I have not looked at what normal non-raid armor looks like since they introduced universal ornaments. Because I automatically had cool stuff and just threw it on.
Yeah.
Like, just immediately. Like, I'm still wearing stuff I got a year or two ago from Eververse that just looks awesome.
I just think the Titan stuff is just, like, it's atrocious all the time. There's
your stuff is awful.
Very rarely like, even the universal ornaments are just like, what? Like, it's either like a big hulking, like, metal bodysuit, or like a the one that we got, probably, I think, Forsaken. It looks like a fucking bobsled suit, and I'm like, what?
All
what
I'm gonna say is, you're the exact opposite problem the Hunters have. The Hunters, I'm pretty sure you can see the outline of my crotch and my ass cheeks.
I mean, it's fair. Maybe you have a
like,
nice
I'm
ass,
pretty sure.
Josh.
And I mean, like, listen, I don't want to see my Exo's ass. Okay, let me tell you something.
So, do Exos have buttholes?
I'm gonna assume so. We got to defecate from somewhere. I'm gonna assume that we have them.
Oh, fair.
The last.
I mean,
thing...
go
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, in the trailers and in the cutscenes, Cade's like drinking some juice and
eating ramen.
Yeah, and spitting out some chunks of metal, right, when he's getting beaten up by the Scorn. So, just saying, they probably poop chunks of metal, which would probably hurt coming out of a normal person, but might be normal for them.
Yeah.
Hey, Corey, after this, you need to set up a poll on Twitter from the Tower Casuals Twitter account. Do Exos poop? Yes or no?
I'm going to right now, actually.
But Josh, my one concern with this, and then I'll leave it, is for the Solstice armors. How do they support the glows? Does it work? Does it not work?
That's my biggest question, I think, in all this. Like, I never bought the glows, but I know enough people who did that I'm kind of concerned for them.
Like, I want to use the first season of Solstice armor, and I want to put my glows on. And if it works with the armor and doesn't work with the glows, I'm gonna be pretty pissed off.
I think that's honestly going to be the trickiest thing for them to get to work with transmog too, right?
Yep.
So I'm curious to see what they do here. The last thing with transmog, that kind of ties in with that, shaders are permanent unlocks now. Thank God. Thank God. I'm so tired of getting gigantic stacks of shaders and only being able to keep a handful in my inventory at one time. Let me look at my entire book of shaders, baby. Let me do it.
Yeah, I've completely ignored the shader inventory since you could pull from collections. I just end up deleting all my shaders and then probably even repulling the same ones because I've already deleted them.
I repull them all the time because I'll buy the one from Everburst and then I'll delete it because it's the easiest to delete.
Yeah.
Right, but I gotta be looking good, man. I gotta be. When you got good armor, you gotta be looking good.
Well, I mean, that would require hunters to have good
Any final
armor.
thoughts on transmogging, on shaders, etc. before we hit the final bullet points they have here?
Nothing that I haven't already said. I just think it's BS that you have to pay for it.
It's absolutely yes. I want to go more in on this when we actually have it in our hands in season 14, or as they detail. I think they're going to detail it and get closer to. I will know exactly what kind of challenges we're doing for these, and if we can beat them or not. I think that's going to dictate a lot of how I feel. But the fact that you're even charging for this is not a good look.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Again, I think Nerd really nails it. Like, charging us anything other than like Glimmer or maybe some enhancement cores to do this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bungie puts a couple more bullet points here at the very end. I know we've been talking about this like for a long time now. But crossplay coming to the masses in season 15. They're going to do alpha testing in season 14. You'll be able to play with all your friends no matter what platform you call home. And they will not match console and PC players together in the Crucible unless PC players specifically invite console friends to play with them on
Hallelujah!
I'm very excited for this, and I have some PC friends who are very excited about this as well. They're like, fuck it, we're going to come play on console. We're going to come play with the console boys. I love hearing that. One of the complaints Corey and I had a few weeks ago, Ikora Ray has not been nearly as present recently in Destiny. We have missed her as well. You will see her again in season 14. She will play a pivotal role in the Witch Queen as well. No mention of Gina Torres is still here, though.
She will be voiced by Nolan North.
Nerd, I know you and I were joking about that the other night with Matt. We were like, watch, it's going to come out. It's going to be like fucking Nolan North or Lance Reddick voicing Ikora because they seem to be the only two consistent people.
Even though Nolan North isn't really consistent this season either, though, because Ghost hasn't talked.
I'm glad. They're giving him a break. I'd rather get the narrative from people other than Ghost, frankly.
Yeah.
Make my Guardian talk again. I want some banter with Osiris and Keitel.
Yeah. I want some more salad and holograms out of my helm. You know what I mean?
Space Daddy.
In Beyond Light, we introduced Stasis subclasses. They will be supported into a fully supported damage type. In Season 15, we will introduce the first round of Legendary Stasis Energy and Power Weapons. And there will be a lot more info here as we get closer to the fall.
Great, because that last one, the only one, sucks.
Salvation's Grip.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It sucks.
It's not great.
It's awful.
Most recently, in Season 13, we rolled out Phase 1 of our new Gilded Title system. In Season 14, Phase 2 of Gilding Titles will roll out. When players gild a title, it will now also display how many times that title has been gilded in the past. That's cool. I mean, for the people, again, who only play this game or who feel the need to brag about how they've already gilded Flawless or gilded Dredgen or Unbroken 2 weeks into the season, like, cool. You have the opportunity now to keep showing off on that. And I do think it does really stand out in the fucking tower when you're there with people.
It's, like, I haven't done Trials or the Crucible one, but I was looking at the requirements to guild Dredgen. It's not that bad. I mean, aside
Dredgen
from having to
is the
play
only obtainable one. That is the only semi-reasonable one for an average skill player.
I'll look at the other ones offline, but
yeah, you have to have earned the title already in order to gild it.
Okay, I'll never get that then.
You'll get there.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
So, guys, that does it. We end with an early look at one Queen armor sets that they say is wild armor. So I assume this is what we'll find out in the wild. I don't entirely hate the Hunter set.
I think it all looks like shit.
Are you talking about the ones at the very bottom, right
Yes.
before it says "Thanks for reading"?
Yes.
It looks like crap.
Those are
I
awful.
like
They look
the
like
Hunters.
they look like really terrible knockoff Lego Bionic things.
They're mega constructs.
Yeah, that just they suck. They suck. I'm sorry. I'm never wearing this garbage.
Did anybody look at the Titan arms though? It is it's the symbol for salt.
What?
It says NA on the left arm.
Oh, and then CL.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's salt.
That's funny.
That's incredible.
That's really funny.
I'm real salty that this armor sucks.
Maybe maybe it's just a
Corey,
meme.
you should be happy. They gave you a fucking coat there. They aren't making you wear gigantic plate armor. Y'all's I don't think is that terrible.
My helmet looks like a broken version of the Mark 1 Iron Man suit.
Or put on a different helmet then, buddy.
Corey, hold on. Your helmet's broken. My warlock has a roll of duct tape attached to his waist, so I could actually help you with that.
That's awesome.
Oh my god, he does. That's incredible.
Also,
holy shit, you got a little weather mane going on over there.
Yeah, man.
Okay, I blew this up.
Why do I have one leg that is all blue?
Your hunters going into the NBA. They got to look cool, right?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably rock that chest piece, and maybe the cloak, depending on what it looks like.
Okay, now that I'm kind of zoomed in, it looks better than some of the armor. I got to give them credit for making it look different, right? It looks way different than a lot of the stuff that Titan
looks
used to wear.
Different. It's not great.
The
but
helmets.
It looks better than most of the
Why can that Titan never get a cool looking helmet? That's why I wear the Helmet State 14 everywhere with every subclass, because all the helmets suck except for the exotic Titan helmets. Some of them. And all the rest, dude, how hard is it to design a helmet? You designed Master Chief's helmet. It's not that difficult to make a cool helmet. You give everybody else cool helmets. Sorry, I hate how ugly the Titans look, guys. This is the long time Titan struggle to where I almost mained a Warlock during Beyond Light. Okay, almost. I was this close.
Come to the dark side.
Except for the simple fact that I would have to do the new light quest, and I really don't want to spend 3 hours with Shahan.
If it means you coming to the Warlock side, I'll run them with you, Corey. That way you don't have to munch on crayons anymore.
I know. I hate it.
Okay, so besides looking ahead to the future of the franchise, is there any other quick little tidbits we want to get out before we quickly run through this Schwab and then revisit the future of Destiny?
I think this is a good next step in what we can see over the next few years. Nothing that we haven't already said in depth.
Mm-hmm. And I think the important thing here is there's a tangible date for every single one of these things. It's not like in the past where, in a future season we'll address this.
Mm-hmm.
It's no, here's the fucking season we're doing
how they give us the roadmaps for the season. It's like a roadmap for content drops and fixing and all this stuff. So
everything in this roadmap, with the exception of things mentioned for Witch Queen and Beyond, will conceivably be out at the latest by season 15, which is probably going to be starting mid-September at this point.
Yeah.
That is a very good time frame. If you're telling me that crossplay is going to arrive by late August, early September, fuck yeah, let's do it, boys. Mm-hmm. I'm here for it. I love it. The only thing I think I worry about is you now have to figure out how to balance those last 2 seasons and how they're going to end, because those seasons have to carry you from May to conceivably next February, which would normally be the span of 3 seasons. We can't have another season of Arrival scenario where we're sitting there for 5 months on one season.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to cram another one in. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's why they're doing this so early, is now they have time to plan for it and to
build some extra content.
Yeah, to add in some extra content or stretch out some extra content to make that less.
Use this time to rebuild your holiday events, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, yeah, we're gonna need something for Halloween. So yeah, you got to replace freaking the Halloween event.
Just don't remind me of this. Just stop.
So yeah, I think this is what the community needs to hear right now. It's the only time in recent memory where I think the entire community has just been nothing but positive about this, other than the silver for fucking ornaments. That is the one thing that I think we're all dinging right now, and that they're going to have to revisit.
Yeah,
There's time for them to
but
take
I mean,
it back.
if that's the one thing that we're dinging them on is like a cosmetic type of thing, like I think we're in a pretty good place, and that seems like an easy fix compared to a lot of the other things that they've fixed throughout the years.
There are two things that I wish they would have addressed in here, and that is addressing anything for Gambit and addressing the distinct lack of Moon and Europa maps for PvP and Gambit. I think that's still we hit on that issue almost every week, I feel, but it's a glaring issue, and that's great if you're going to fix PvP. I'm tired of playing on the same fucking maps I played on in Destiny 1, though. I want you to build some original maps. We haven't had original maps built since Forsaken, and we're going on 2.5 years from that.
Hot take. I think I think the next character to die is going to be Drifter, and I think Gambit's going to get retired.
That is a scorching hot take.
That is a hot take.
Because ironically, I think Drifter is the one who's going. Well, we'll talk about it just here in a few minutes. I think he's one of the ones shepherding us into the next phase of this universe.
Yeah.
The TWAB is pretty short this week. Obviously, they do touch on the drop rates for the new for the activities for Gambit, for Crucible, for Vanguard, saying how the drop rates aren't where they want them, that they don't want you drowning in rolls. They want you to be, playing the activity to get them, but they recognize they need to be buffed a little bit. The specific paragraph here is, our current plan is to increase drop chances for ritual-specific weapons later this season. We don't want these to become a short-term grind for players seeking perfect rolls. We do believe they need to drop a bit more frequently for them to be a positive experience when playing their associated activities. And that they'll be watching the conversation once the changes go live. Their current plan is to continue adding more weapons to these pools in future seasons. There may be seasons where these pools remain the same and others where a new weapon is added while one is rotated out to keep the offering streamlined for players on the hunt for specific rewards. Good. That's all I have to say. Good.
Yep.
I'm loving, personally, every one of these weapons that we've gotten. The 3 we got last season, the 6 we've gotten here, and then the Nightfall ones. I'm loving playing around with all of those.
Yeah.
The only one I could not give two shits about is the Gambit fusion rifle.
Yeah.
But that Crucible sidearm fucking slaps. And I've been running that pulse a ton that you get out of strikes. Third Axiom, I'm running that a ton.
Yeah, that pulse is great.
I got it with Dragonfly, and it's just beautiful to watch it blow people up.
That's awesome. I love that perk. Any weapon with that perk, I usually try
I got it with Dragonfly and Genesis, and I've really, really been loving it this season.
Apparently, Swarm will drop with Dragonfly, so you could basically make a legendary Thunderlord with it.
That's nice.
I'm here for it, baby. I'm here for it. Console DDoS protection is being rolled out. I believe they've already rolled it out, and they've been fixing some bugs and some crashes. And now it's going to be a multi-week initiative to bring console SDR services online. Cool. It needed it. And I hope that this kind of helps also deal with them recognizing when leaving a match is not the choice of the player, it's their internet dropping. It's far from me being the only person. I've seen this complaint for years now. You get penalized if you leave a match early in Gambit, which, I mean, I guess you should, but you don't get penalized if you leave early from a Crucible match.
You do in comp.
Comp, you do. Okay, you do in comp, but I don't think I should be penalized for it. I've seen people get locked out of Gambit because their internet was dropping them because they have, shitty connection or shitty provider, and I don't think that's the person's fault. I think Bungie should be able to see that it was not them who willingly left.
Sounds like a you problem, Josh.
Again, I said it's not me. I've thankfully only had it happen to me one time in Gambit, but we've all had a drop at some point that was not our fault.
My internet never drops.
Fuck you. Pennsylvania bullshit.
I don't really get my internet dropped either.
Fuck you too, Cleveland.
I don't live in Cleveland. It's fine.
Whatever. Oh, hi. You're a Cavs fan. It counts. You're a Browns fan. Whatever.
I am. Big
That's what
Browns
you
fan.
get, AFC bitches.
AFC North, baby.
Hey, why don't they just trade Russell Wilson and you'll be fine? You'll win a championship.
Fuck you.
Trade him to the Jets. Trade him to the Jets.
I mean, honestly, I'm so petty that if we ever did trade him, I'd be like, send him somewhere where he's never going to win another playoff game in his life.
Well, it's not his fault though that he got traded, unless he requests
Doesn't
a
matter.
trade. But
He's the one who said he would go to the Jets.
Yeah, but he also said he wants to stay in Seattle. This isn't destiny. Move on, Josh. You sourpuss.
Yeah.
This
is fun.
Other than that, it's just it's a lot of stuff. There's a hot fix coming next week. Just some little things. They talk about Presage. When you complete it, you got to pick up the weapon, and then you have to wait for the timer to kick in. That's when your rewards drop.
Oh! They also said, "Hey, fuck you guys. Yeah, we know there are no champions in Presage because there are no Scorn champions."
Man, we rushed so fast to go get that master one done, thinking it was a glitch, and then it dawned on me about 2/3 of the way through. Wait a second, there's no fucking Scorn champions, and I told Matt that. He's like, dude, I'm not taking any chances.
They said, duh.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the whole, all day yesterday. I was like, I guess we were right. There are no Scorn champions.
That mission is so good, though.
As soon as he saw it.
That mission is so good, though. I know we talked about it for an hour last week, but it was that mission is so good.
Dude, Corey, Nerd and I did the master version of it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's match game. It's, 12:30 light, I think?
Yeah.
Or 13:30?
13:20.
13:20. Your gear is locked. It's match game, and you have a 25-minute timer to get through the whole thing.
Jeez.
It's actually not as bad as you think.
We got to the boss with 8 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
And killed him off with about 4 or 5. We had it down to a science, though, when we got there, because we failed the first time. We just got caught up on the trash compactor puzzle. But the main room where the two, nearly invincible abominations is the absolute roughest part. But we worked them both down, nuked them at the same time, and then just took our time clearing the room after that.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much easier.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, it was pretty good, actually. There's a whole bunch of known issues here. Y'all can go read that if you really care. I really love that in the known issues, that's where they say no champions in the Master Presage mission because Scorn champions don't exist.
I love it.
Love that. It's fantastic. I love it. And that, honestly, that's it for the TWAB. Yeah, that's it. That is it for the TWAB this week. It's hey, here's a little bit on ritual weapons. Here's a whole bunch of fucking issues we know about with our game, and here's a link to our post from this morning. Go read.
Yep.
So, it's great. Go earn that catalyst, though, boys. It's gonna be worth it.
It is worth it. I grinded it out. It's
cash
worth
is
it.
Reset every week. Oh.
Or just go to Shirochi and shoot Thrall for 20 minutes.
Oh my god, I don't hate myself enough to do that.
It actually wasn't bad. I did it. And
have you already finished your catalyst?
Yeah.
God damn.
I went to Shirochi and I shot Thrall for 20 minutes. I mean, it's that easy.
All right, I guess I'm going to Shirochi.
It's actually, I mean, the catalyst is awesome. That gun is really fun. Good addition.
I'm here for it. But guys, instead of doing this week, we decided we were going to do something a little bit different, which is we're going to speculate a little bit on the future storyline beyond Lightfall and the yet unnamed final chapter of the Light versus Darkness saga.
I was actually shocked that they're oh well, the light, the saga of the Light versus the Dark is going to end, and it's I thought this was the whole point of Destiny was the Light versus the Dark and learning
I
to
wasn't
find
necessarily to hear that it was shocked that it was going to end. I'm surprised that it's going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Destiny is going to keep going beyond this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've seen that they've created this universe with a lot of characters that, you know, people have spent so much time with. And, you know, I think after a while, people want to live in that universe, even if they're not with the same characters. People want to continue on with that.
Do you think they build a Destiny 3, or do you think they just continue on Destiny 2?
TBD.
Because like,
I think the resources to build a Destiny 3 at this point would just be way too much by that point, and you'll be approaching
even with
the same point.
Even with the studio expansion and like really trying to like double down on their new IP, but also like I feel like that this would be like the perfect point of maybe they start building a new engine now, because like we've talked about, this engine is so spaghetti strung together, like it could, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know they've done fixes and everything since then, but it's
I would imagine they've been building a new engine internally for Matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they're going to have that run on a modified Reach engine. I could conceivably see them using that or outsourcing. I mean, hell, Unreal 5 is shaping up to be just an incredible force to be reckoned with right now. And there's even Microsoft's internal slip space engine they could license out. Like, who knows? But I don't think that you go for a Destiny 3 at this point. I think at this point, they've proven do not do any more numbered sequels. Mm-hmm. Just keep building on the game that people already know and love. We want to keep everything. We don't want to have to start over ever again.
I wonder if that's the point where they drop the 2 and just like, this is Destiny.
I mean, look at World of Warcraft.
I can't believe the 2 hasn't been dropped yet.
I know.
Look at games like World of Warcraft, where they're 16 years into it at this point. Like,
yeah. If World of Warcraft never did a sequel, I don't think Destiny will.
Like, it's like, I think the only reason why the 2 hasn't been dropped, honestly, is because Destiny 1 is still playable and the servers are live and people are still playing it.
Well, those servers aren't going down for years.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think from that standpoint it makes sense, but like, God, that 2 is just so it's so big, as Luke Smith said. You got a big fucking 2.
I felt that they would drop the 2 as soon as they imported Destiny 1 in.
Yeah.
But unless they figure out a way to like super compress this game or sell you a complimentary memory unit with it, it's not going to happen.
Why? Why do we need to have the old game back?
So, no, I'm not saying I want the old game back. I'm saying that I want, because if you're priding yourself on this being a story you can play through from start to finish, you have now cut out everything in Destiny 1. You've cut out the entire Red War 2 Forsaken campaigns. You have the amount of people trying to get back into this game that we've gotten questions from of how the hell do I get to enjoy the story?
I got one on Twitter today through a DM. I got one from Billy Holiday. He says, so I haven't picked up Destiny 2 in over a year. What do I need to do to get caught up as far as DLC? Like not even just like the expansion, like not even just the Red War campaign. You're talking about seasons worth of content drops. You're talking about, like, we talk about this all the time, like Season of the Worthy. Like, people who have been out for a year and a half to 2 years, they're like, why is Saint 14 here? I thought he was dead, or like I thought, you know, he was missing. You know what I mean? Like,
or it's like, who the fuck is this Russian guy?
Yeah, or like
so.
I'm pretty adamant. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, even people who played Forsaken, like, and just played the campaign and didn't see like the resurrection of Aldrin, they're like, oh, why the fuck is Aldrin back? We murdered him, right? Like, we straight up shot him in the face.
Or like, you know, who is this Cade guy?
Yeah.
And like, why does everybody care so much about Cade dying? Like,
yeah, I was talking to Nerd right before we started recording. I'm like, if you go to the store and you download the free-to-play version of Destiny 2, Cade is on the cover of Destiny 2, and like you know what I mean? Like the free version, and it's like, oh, well, you jump into the New Light experience and then you jump into Forsaken and they murder the guy that's on the damn cover of the game.
What I've said for a long time is that I feel that I don't necessarily want everything from Destiny 1 back, because there were a lot of problems with it. But I do think that story content, strikes, and raids should be in Destiny 2.
I mean, we've said this before, right? Where like they could somehow
do a compressed version of the campaign.
Yeah,
cut
like,
out half the filler.
You could totally do Dark Below and House of Wolves and the main campaign as one kind of like 12 mission campaign. You could totally import the Taken King campaign as is, right? Like, I think the biggest problem would bringing Rise of Iron over, because that's like one huge section of the game that's like not really present, right? But I mean, you could do that anyway. I don't know.
We hit on a pretty like important piece of this puzzle earlier in this episode, where Josh pointed out that like you have to find a way to bring in new players, right? Mm-hmm. I would say, and I think we could all agree, that the biggest obstacle of having new players coming in is they feel like they are behind in some capacity. Mm-hmm. There's two ways you can approach that. One is you can give them all of that content to play through, or a big chunk of that content to play through so they can get caught up. Or you can say, hey, this universe is living, it's organic, where you're jumping in, that's where your story starts. Your Guardian is waking up during the Witch Queen saga, or your Guardian is waking up during the Lightfall saga. Your Guardian didn't exist before this. So this is where you're entering the world. If you want to learn more about it, cool. Go read lore books. Go watch Bife. Like,
that makes sense, but you also need to adjust the new light quest to adjust, because like,
new light is trash. I'm with you.
I think wherever you jump in and your Guardian jumps in, like
fuck Shahan.
They need some sort of like the new structured new light quest for your Guardian where they're jumping into the story, and then they should probably do some sort of, it doesn't need to be this huge cutscene or whatever, but those animated cutscenes that happen before Beyond Light, that just give a quick bullet points of like what's happening in the story right now, like previously on Destiny type thing. We've talked about this too, like a theater mode, or
I'm increasingly agreeing with him.
Yeah. Just to get people caught up.
I think that like you kind of nailed it earlier when you said like people who didn't play Season of the Dawn are kind of like, well, what the fuck's going on with Saint 14? Like, even friends of mine who, like, if they took a season off or they weren't able to play because of personal matters, are like, oh my god, I can't believe I missed these missions and I can never play them again now. And that's part of what led to the change with the seasonal model.
Yeah.
Right?
And like I took a couple seasons off, and I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have taken off because I missed this stuff, right? Like,
and that's part of the goal, I think, is to reduce the FOMO, but also at the same time, like, we've seen how they sunset stuff. Like, how are they going to handle that when we move forward into the next phase of the saga? Are you just going to completely drop everything that happened up to this point? Like, that would be a real fucking shame. Like, there's so many good activities right now, so many worlds that we build, like people we've encountered. Like, I don't want that stuff to drop. Like, if I'm paying money for it, I want it to stick around. I'm not saying everything, like, God bless it, fuck the menagerie. The menagerie needed to go away. It was time. It outlived its usefulness.
I think there's a way to restructure. I mean, they've done a little bit of it, but there's a way to restructure old content into a more streamlined way if you want to play the story stuff from start to finish. Like seasonal, like when these battlegrounds go away, right? Like, I'm not sure they will ever go away, but like if they go away, like, you don't need to experience those, right? Like, I mean,
no,
you just don't. But you should be able to play like some of the story beats from this season at some point, right? Like, there's got to be a way that they can streamline.
The Glycon has to stick around past the end of season 15. That is a massive space that you created, and honestly, like, it's got some pretty important story beats as you get deeper into the captain's log, as you start reading it. Like, the master version has some major story implications.
And Josh, like you said before, like, give us an option to, like, okay, if we don't want the Destiny 1 story content, let's just uninstall it. Like, you have the ability.
Give me a separate pack. Give me Destiny 1 campaigns. Give me Destiny 1 strikes. Give me Destiny 1 raids as downloadable content.
Yeah, and make them, like, if you go in there and they're on your menu, like, give us a stupid error code beaver chewer or whatever, whatever dumb error code, whatever dumb, error code they give you. Oh, this content pack is not available to you. Do you want to download it, or do you want to purchase it in the store or whatever? Like, they do that shit all the time. Like, why can't we
you want to see something I'll pay silver for, Bungie? I'll pay for that.
Yeah.
I'll pay to have Destiny 1 strikes and raids back in this game.
That'll cost you 6,000 silver
Done.
or 8 million bright dust.
Done. I gotta spend my bright dust eventually, anyways.
You can spend it on ornaments.
Let me, Bungie, let me buy those synthesis tokens with my bright dust. Look how much I have in my account and tell me you don't want me to do it.
So here's a question, and I think you guys are getting a little sucked back into the past. If the Guardians don't have the darkness to fight, who are we? I mean, any good game has to have an enemy. Who do we fight? Who are we fighting? What is the challenge after the darkness?
I mean, you could have light-bearing bad guys, right? Like, I mean, it's darkness doesn't obviously we're seeing this now. Like, the darkness doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad guy. Like, but you like. I mean, I don't know who we're fighting, but you could have a light-bearing bad guy or like some new magic that comes out, right? Like, I feel like magic is something that we haven't really like explored in Destiny. Like, it exists, but we haven't explored it. Time travel is something that we haven't explored, but we know it exists, right? Like, there's these different elements that exist within the universe that we haven't really taken a deep dive into.
If we don't do it in Lightfall or in its final, and I'm convinced we're doing it by the final expansion after Lightfall now, I think we're leaving the solar system fairly soon.
Interesting.
Because I think right now we're too tethered to the city, and the city narrative doesn't really matter to us as Guardians. That's why I think it was so cool to be running around in there when the sunsetting happened, when the Traveler awoke, when it healed. I think that was so cool because we've never been in the streets of the city before, and now we are for the first time ever.
What's
Destiny Andromeda.
God, please no.
Fucking hell.
What?
But I mean, like, for example, like there are narratives that are being set up in the lore already. The Drifter, when you read his backstory and you see the backstory in Joker's Wild and whatnot, he talks about getting stranded on this planet and the members of his crew all freezing to death or killing themselves, etc., like killing their ghosts, and they are being hunted by these creatures of darkness, these feral creatures out there that can sense them. Like, what if that? I personally think that's part of the fifth race that they cut from the original games that we've seen the concept art for, the Veil. I think that's going to come into play at some point, but I think that's going to be something you have to team up with the light and the dark to defeat. We've gotten a lot of mentions this season about the Cabal homeworld that's been completely destroyed by the Hive.
Yeah.
The Cabal are refugees now. What if an entire campaign, an entire DLC, has us retaking the Cabal homeworld with Keidel's army fighting side by side with us? What if we help restore Elixni society with Mithrax and Varix?
Also,
you know,
like...
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, also, like, to that point, you said that the Drifter's crew was, like, they're killing themselves and killing their ghosts and stuff because a darkness enemy was hunting them. It doesn't have to, like, they say the saga of the light versus the dark, so that saga's ending, but it doesn't mean that, like, those things are going away, right? Like, you could still go hunt these dark beasts, right? And find out what happened to Drifter's crew, or, you know, I feel like that would be, like, a really cool seasonal story like we're getting now. Like, find out what happened to Drifter's crew and find out really who the Drifter is.
There's other zones on Earth that we can go to. Like, just because they call it the last city doesn't mean there's not enclaves of humans out there, right? Like, we know for sure that one of the other zones talked about in some of the original lore cards for Destiny 1 is a zone in the U.S., Chicago specifically. I would love to see a futuristic, completely destroyed Chicago, and, like, we're finding encampments of humans there, and maybe they've got light bearers that are more like warlords, like not the old Iron Lords, but like how Shaxx used to be back in the Dark Ages.
Do you think that they've got Golden Age deep dish there?
I was about to say the same thing.
Dude, if I can go to fucking Pequods and get a deep dish in this game, 10 out of 10, best game ever made.
Where's my deep dish emote? You know what I mean?
Oh my lord, Corey, stop giving them silver ideas.
So
actually, keep giving them, so maybe they'll take away synthesis from silver.
See,
one of the things I've been thinking about is
deep dish pizza.
Well, yeah. On top, I'm always thinking about pizza.
I know. God,
That's
pizza sounds so good.
I had pizza for lunch actually. Is like we've been creating you can see the start of this kind of like rift in some of our supporting cast here, and we've seen it before when Season of the Drifter was, I think it was Season of the Drifter, where we had to kind of like pick and choose what side we were on. Is like you kind of said, Corey, like light and dark aren't necessarily going to just go away. So like what if we have like almost like a Civil War saga in the Vanguard where it's like two sides, and that's happened before.
I mean, it could be
in
like
Destiny's lore.
I mean, you could see like, I mean, we saw it a little bit in Season of Arrivals where like Ikora and Zavala's beliefs are changing, like they're drifting apart from each other, right? And like you could see Ikora and Osiris and it maybe drift away from Zavala and the Titans, right? Like I feel like you could see something like that too. I think that would be really cool.
I think going back to something that Nerd said earlier about how, bold prediction, he thinks that Drifter is going to be the next major character killed off. I actually think that I could see it, assuming I don't think that she makes it out of this story alive, but I could see like Drifter, Eris, and maybe Mara, like those who are loyal to Queen Mara, leaving the galaxy for other pastures. I could see us going into the Distributary for the first time, to where the Awoken were actually created, where time is literally standing still. They lived there for a millennia before coming through back to our timeline, which was right after the Exodus ships broke apart. Like, I could see us going in there. There's still so much with the Exos we don't know. Like, Europa's going to be around for years to come. Clovis surely had more secrets. We don't know if some of the Exodus ships actually got away. Like, that's uncertain. What if humans actually managed to escape the collapse?
Hey, man.
We find them and they're thriving
on Andromeda.
Fuck you. I like visiting the forge where the Vex were created is a near certainty, I think, but I don't think they're holding that for the future. I think that's going to be probably in Lightfall, honestly. The only thing I will say with certainty that I think will be completely gone by the time we are in the post Light and Darkness saga is I think the Taken are done for good at that point. The Taken are pretty much living embodiments of the darkness that Orcs figured out how to harness.
Yeah, I mean, once you kill the orcs, is the Savathun, and like get rid of, maybe like finally eliminate the hive and create an extinction type thing. Like, I feel like that could really change the game.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like on the side of the darkness, that's the hive and the Taken at this point, and a sect of the Fallen. But I mean, like the Cabal basically want no hand in this fight. They are literally fighting for survival, as Osiris and Crow kind of point out to this, and even Amanda Holiday point out to Saladin in these battlegrounds, and he's just like, nah, fuck them, kill them all, just kill them all. Like, Saladin's becoming unhinged. I wonder if at some point we're gonna have to fight him.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you think
there's such a big rift happening, and all these characters are changing? I could totally see like the city broken in half, and now we've got like the what were they called? The warlords? Yeah, back.
I mean, unpopular opinion. I personally think that I said this even before we got the futuristic lore book from Elsie. I think they're going to nuke the city for good at some point, because at this point it's becoming too much of a crutch for us.
I mean, I think we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago, where like you said maybe the Helm becomes some sort of like helicarrier similar.
The Helm looks like a spaceport.
Yeah, to where like maybe like the Helm is where the Guardians gathered to leave the solar system. This is like the Helm. Maybe there's like, obviously there's like multiple ships or whatever, but like the Helm is like, this is where the Vanguard's safety net is, and if the city goes down, the Helm takes off and leaves.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like to do that, though, you would have to confirm the existence of other, like, groups of humans on the planet, because, like,
and maybe
the tower, as far as I can tell, the tower is, like, set in fucking Eastern Europe.
Yeah, so... it is. My wife used to translate the signs in the Cosmodrome for me.
Okay.
Because she's Ukrainian and they speak fluent Russian, and I'm like, oh, thanks. I know what that says now.
Yeah, you got old Russia, you got the European dead zone, and I mean, like, we walked there from the tower, so...
I mean, I don't think we're going to lose the tower. I'm still subscribing to the theory that they're actually rebuilding the tower.
I think they are too, but at the same time, it's like, I'm ready to leave the city behind. I'm tired of looking at this.
I mean,
shit.
I disagree with your premise, but I agree with the sentiment. I don't think we need I'm done. I'm feeling done with the city. Let's go back to the farm. Let's play some soccer, guys. Let's go back to.
Oh my god, no!
Let's go back to
that's
easier
even worse.
Days.
That's even worse. Let me yeet Soraya off the tower with Shah.
You think we'll hit the reef at some point if like the tower goes away? Like maybe the reef turns into the new kind of like salvation zone for humanity for a little bit.
I mean, so I guess I'm kind of with Nerd. I don't see them like actually nuking the city. If they didn't completely destroy it during the Red War, they won't do it now. But that is the most ominous part of the Elsie's visions of the future of what she's lived, is the city being completely wiped out.
Oh man,
I still think that to some degree something terrible is going to happen.
Give me a mission or two where we go into that timeline.
Oh my lord!
I'm drooling for that content where we get to experience that timeline where everything just goes to shit.
What if when Vault of Glass comes back, when World's First ends, it opens time gates throughout the solar system and you get to play those missions in other timelines.
Corey, don't say things like that, because now when it doesn't happen, I'm going to be mad at Bungie for something that I was never promised.
I don't care. I'm doing it. Like, what if it opens time gates? Like, you go to Nessus or you go to Venus, and it opens time gates to these other things, and like the stranger sticks around, and like you go and meet her in these other timelines, and maybe you are the one that's helping her correct the timeline.
Couldn't we do that with the Infinite Forest, or is that locked down?
Well, Mercury's gone.
It's locked down. It only allows you to see the future.
Yeah. I guess the planet's gone too. that definitely has an effect on it.
Brother Vance is gone, guys.
Thank God.
The savior, Brother Vance is gone.
Listen, Brother Vance gave me a lot of legendary shards for a long time.
Brother Vance is he's like, man, he's up there with Hawthorne and Shahan. He's just.
I just think like the overwhelming consensus is that we're definitely going to leave the tower behind at some point.
Yeah.
Even if we don't leave the solar system, we're going to leave the tower behind. I do think leaving the solar system is the only logical way to expand this story beyond what we currently have, because it's becoming a little cramped. We've got four planets we can't use now. We got 2 locations we absolutely will not, for whatever reason, go back to, which Venus and the Dreadnought, unless they decide to reintroduce them in future seasons.
You don't think we're going to go back to the Dreadnought for Witch Queen?
I want us to, but just there's so many mixed signals on if they're going to unvault the destination or not. Like, the comment that was made can be interpreted 2 different ways: of we're not unvaulting anything we just vaulted, or we're not unvaulting anything, period, for it. Because all they said was, oh, we're not unvaulting anything we're not unvaulting content for Witch Queen. And that statement can be taken 2 different ways, I think. I personally think it makes sense for the Dreadnought to come back, but at the same time, I would love, and I do think to a degree, that our final encounter with Savathun will be in the Dreaming City with her fucking murder battery.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have to kill Dul and Karu. One thing I did see as speculation is, with them changing some things about the Vault of Glass, what if you add an extra encounter into Vault and you kill Kira, the Vex Mind that is fueling Savathun's murder battery?
I mean, you could. I mean, that would make sense, right?
That'd be fantastic from a lore standpoint.
Or like,
supposed to help lead into
that? I mean, did they confirm that they're bringing Atheon back? Is Atheon the final boss? Do we know that for sure?
We don't know.
I mean, couldn't that be the final boss encounter?
Kira could be. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was just thinking, what if they added her in as a boss somewhere in the raid? Like,
but where
right
would
before Atheon or right after? Like, how nutty would it be? You finish Atheon and you're like, yes, I did it. And like, what if they like
the
just
portal in the back opens up? Remember when you run up the stairs? Yep. Like you go through and there's like this extra space, and Atheon isn't the final encounter anymore.
You kill Atheon, but you get transported to the alternate realm, and that's where fucking Kira is. Or like that side gate that's off to the side that we had to go through for sleeper stimulant in there. Like, there's so many possibilities. Like, I would just lose my shit if I kill Atheon and you think that that's it, and then you get your rewards. Like, it says mission complete, like it did in one of the Taken King missions or something, I think it was, where it says mission complete, and it even says that, and then like it starts being staticky and it like fades away. And you realize you're still in the mission and you've got a second half of it.
Yeah.
What if that happens and you start hearing like Sabathun for the very first time speaking?
Yeah.
And it's fucking Kira that she sends to deal with you.
Yeah.
Because she's so arrogant.
Yeah.
A Taken Vex Mind
That'd be
as
awesome.
the final boss of the raid.
That'd be awesome.
That would be a Vault of Glass Redux for the ages.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to play it for sure.
I would love that.
Yeah.
But guys, do we have any more speculation before we just get out of here?
Nope.
No.
I'm good.
I'm
Give us
sure
a
we're
good
gonna
day.
have
I'm gl-
years to
I'm
talk
gl-
about this.
I'm glad that like Destiny is continuing, right? Like I was like, man, I mean, not that we like really talked about it or that I really believed it. I'm just like, man, I'm gonna if Destiny ends at Lightfall or whatever, like I'm really gonna miss Destiny. You know, like it's a game we've been playing for so long, right? Like I was thinking about it the other day. Like I started playing Destiny before I even met my wife, right? Like it's been in my life for so long that it's like if Lightfall was the end, I would be like really sad, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I'm excited for the future. I'm glad they like confirmed that they're going to be supporting this for a long time, and that, you know, even if the characters change, the world's going to exist and it's going to persist, and we're going to continue to play this game for a long time.
Yep, I'm here for it. I love it.
Tower Casuals episode 400, guys.
We're gonna be doing this when we're in nursing homes.
I mean, that's fine. I mean,
Hey, I want to say congratulations, guys. So I heard that you hit some milestones over the last couple weeks, couple episodes, and
We did.
we did.
good job on with keeping it going, guys.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
it's crazy, you know. Like I don't really like to brag about numbers because it's not like important to me, right? Like I think just sitting here with friends talking about Destiny, and like if people tune in to the live show or ask questions or whatever, but like, you know, the fact that we made it to 1,000 listens over 30 episodes is wild. Like that's crazy, and it just kind of shows like how hungry people are for Destiny content outside of the game, and how, you know, I mean, honestly, it's
They want someone to explain the game to them, because I'll tell you, we don't even understand it sometimes.
sometimes that's you could have just said we don't even understand it. You could have stopped there. But I just it's kind of humbling to see people listen to the show, and kind of, you know, Josh has done a great job of honestly putting together lore corners and just really establishing what the show is. Because like, I mean, at the beginning I was just like, man, I want to do a Destiny show, right? Like I had an old Destiny show that ran for about 60 episodes, and it was pretty popular from the time Dark Below came out to probably through the end of the Taken King and into Rise of Iron, right? The first couple weeks of Rise of Iron. And when that ended, I was like, man, I miss talking about Destiny every week, and I've wanted to do one ever since then. And when Josh came on and said he wanted to do it with me, it was just like, you know, it was awesome to sit and talk about a game that we all love. And obviously, you know, Nerd is a big part of the LFG group that we have, and it's a good time. So
We like having you here. You're warming our third chair.
it's true.
Hey, you don't want to know why it's warm. That's all I'm saying.
I do. Is it wet warm or just is smelly warm?
Both?
Oh.
Is that
Bad.
except
It looks like you just took a whiff of it.
Hey, speaking of that, I'm looking at the poll that we have going. It looks like a pretty split poll at the moment between do Exos poop? We've got yes, no, and then some people who are just curious as to what it looks like. So we're pretty split right three ways right now.
It's true. We are. We are.
I voted yes.
I want to know what it looks like. That's what I voted.
God.
Nerd Generalist wants to see exo buttholes.
Who doesn't?
Spam him with those pictures, guys.
Oh God.
Do your thing, internet.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair, Star Wars made it canon that humans can fuck robots. So, on that note.
End the episode.
I want to thank everybody for watching or listening. Remember, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, to give us a 5-star review and leave a nice little review at the bottom. It really helps us out. It'd be great because apparently everything runs off of Apple Podcasts, even if you don't have Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on all them podcast apps that you want to listen to us on. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch the live show on Twitch. We're here. We're talking about Destiny every Thursday night at about 8, somewhere between 8 and 8:30, usually around 8. Try to start then. Josh, thank you for doing this with me for 30 episodes. Here's to however many more.
A lot more.
This happens. Nerd, obviously, you're welcome to join us as well anytime you like. Josh, where can we find you?
Both Twitter and Twitch as @Josh_Finn with 2 N's, as always.
As always. Nerd.
As always.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter @Nerd Generalist. Please don't DM me pictures of robot
Send him
buttholes.
the buttholes.
No.
John, I know you're listening to this. You have one job.
Robot poop.
Whether we wanted it or not.
Robot buttholes.
We've been sucked into a robot butthole on Mars.
Do you think exos get stuck in that where they poop?
Let's get down to taking them out one by one.
Do you think when exos poop, they get stuck in that position where like maybe they let a little bit of poop out, but they're stuck wiping for 25 minutes?
Probably.
Okay.
Do you think exos have to wipe? Or do they have like a built? If I was an exo, I would.
They're people too. Bidet. They want to be clean. Okay.
Yeah, I would get a built-in bidet to my ass if I was an exo. God damn it! That's gonna be the name of the episode now, isn't it?
Do exos poop? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
A bidet in my asshole.
That's if people download this episode. This isn't what I thought this podcast was about.
Rated M.
Some new listeners.
Rated M for mature.
Welcome all new listeners. Anyways, you can find me at IamCoreyHD on Twitter, CoreyHD on Twitch. You can find me on various other things on the internet. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. Until next time, Guardians, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.